What's one hill you die on? Y'all not gonna like me for this one. Eating meat is inherently wrong. And then the other thing is, two things cannot coincide. I love animals. I love all animals so much, and I eat meat. You can't do both. Sorry. You can eat meat. Go for it. You can love animals, but you can't do both. What's one?
Okay, thoughts. So the first claim is
One hill you die on. Y'all not gonna like me for this one. Eating meat is
inherently wrong. And the second claim is you can't say I love animals and eat meat. Okay, so there's two claims, right? So eating meat is inherently wrong. So she's making an objective claim, which would argue objective morality, which I don't believe in. So I don't think it is objectively wrong to eat meat or to rape or kill. I think it is subjectively wrong, and I highly recommend we don't do that. I think this is important because we do philosophy through pop culture here, and this is definitely trending, but this is a philosophy channel, which means you have to make an argument. And an argument is a very difficult thing to make because it has to be foundationed on some form of reality in which we have to agree. So even the word inherently needs to be heavily debated. What does she mean by inherently? Where does that word come from? It's like when Christians say it's inherently obvious, right, that being gay is wrong. What do you mean inherently obvious? What do you mean that it's inherently wrong for two men to be in a relationship together? They're making an inherent claim based off of the idea that God exists. So their objective, the prescription they're making comes from the idea that there is a God, right? So when she says like it's inherently wrong to eat meat, right? She is making a claim that I think is impossible to make, but I would argue that within this framework, we're made to understand, right, that she's saying she thinks it's objectively wrong. I just don't know why she's making that claim. Okay, so there's that, right? Chet said, let me see. However, is her opinion, let's see, maybe based on her morals, right? I'm not defending, I'm discussing. Yeah, for sure. Like she's making a claim based off of her own morals. But when she uses the word inherently, that requires like deconstruction. I need to take it apart and understand it better, but that's okay. The second claim, let's watch again.
Inherently wrong. And then the other thing is, two things cannot coincide. I love animals. I love all animals so much, and I eat meat.
Okay, that is a very common sentiment that I've heard from people. You can't love animals and eat them. You can't love animals and eat them. You can't love animals and eat them. This is sort of the same argument people use towards pro-lifers. How do you say you're pro-life, but you don't care about kids being killed around the world? And this is why some pro-lifers are also anti-death penalty, anti-war, and vegan, fun fact. Not all pro-lifers are just Christians that are anti-abortion. Some of them are also anti a lot of other things. So the question is, what kind of pro-lifer are you? What kind of vegan are you? What do you mean by that statement? And is it true? So this requires a lot of us to put aside those like initial like reactions that we have to these comments and start to ask about the argument at play here and not the attachment to the argument that you bring into your own life. Like, my family's farmers, my family's indigenous, my family's religious, my family's, those are all played to like a story you've told yourself. But if we zoom out, the argument is either true or it is not true. And the question is, if it's subjective, then it's only true or not true based off of the bubble you're in, which would dissolve her need for using the word inherently. She could say subjectively true, or she could say, no, I can prove that eating animals is always wrong at every point. And then she would have to really work hard on proving that to be true, right? Because it's saying you love animals but eat meat is like saying you love rainbows, just not the colors red, yellow, green, or blue, or only purple. Okay, so you don't love rainbows, you just like the color purple. I would say more like, I don't believe in unnecessary forms of violence, and then we could argue what those necessary forms are. But see, that allows the nuance of the subjective. So then she says it's always inherently wrong, or you can't love animals and eat them. I would argue it's like when your parents say they love you, but they don't love that you're gay. I actually think your parents can love you and still struggle with the fact that you're gay. Some people don't. Some people are like, you cannot love your kids and reject their gayness. But I actually think that's totally possible. Whether you like it or not, I can love people deeply and think they're bad people. I can love bad people, right? So I actually think you can love people. And so the way that I would say it instead is, what cognitive dissonance needs to exist in our brains that allows us to live in a world where we breed people or animals into existence just to utilize them as a means of production, right? Like, what allows us as humans to say we're good people, and also I'm going to breed you into existence to use you for labor? Moral consistency is the basis of a good society.
Okay, so Singer has given us some pretty strong reasons to reevaluate our treatment of non-human animals. But you still might be thinking...
Singer wrote, he's the guy who makes ethical arguments about veganism, and also argues that any extra money or wealth that you have should go to others.
Why should I care? What if I don't care that I'm a speciesist? I like eating meat and feel no shame about it because everyone I know eats meat too. Well, the thing is, philosophers want you to be consistent with your beliefs. They want you to think about why you think it would be wrong to eat fluffy, or why you wouldn't eat dog meat if it was served to you, or why you were upset about Cecil the lion, and yet you have no problem eating, say, bacon, even though dogs and pigs have the same level of cognition and awareness. Philosophers want you to be able to justify your actions, to give reasons for what you do. So if you're saying that reasons don't matter, that you can just do what you want even if your actions are internally inconsistent, then not only are you not doing philosophy, well, you're sort of opting out of rational discourse altogether. Because if these reasons don't matter, then why should any reasons matter? If I want to be a racist or a homophobe or a sexist, and I'm comfortable with it because the people I hang out with have those attitudes too, well, the conversation's sort of over. It can be really hard to scrutinize your own actions, not just regarding non-human animals, but in most areas. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. So that's how I want us to have the discourse today. I want us to recognize, like, when Billie makes an argument, she's making a claim, it is our job now to question why we're upset with the claim, why we think it's hypocritical, why we don't like it. Now, first I'll say this, being a vegan has nothing to do with what you eat, and it has nothing to do with human beings. So it doesn't have to do with other human suffering, and it doesn't have to do with what you eat. Veganism is an ethical stance against animal exploitation. It's the belief that non-human animals have a right and an agency, just like any other living creature, to exist on their own terms and within reason, right? So that's what veganism is. It is not about your diet. It is nothing that's plant-based. That's what I am. I'm plant-based. I'm plant-based because I believe in harm reduction, and I don't yet, and I'm not philosophically vegan, but I am plant-based. So it's about what I eat as a way to create harm reduction, right? If I was to say I was vegan, I would be making a different claim. I'd be making a different argument and an ethical stance. It'd be different. It's not the same thing, okay? Now, Billie also said this many years ago when she was like 18, and some people keep bringing it up, so I'll just show it to you.
That are always, the people that are always like, I'm a vegan in everyone's face. It's like, you're the reason people don't like vegans. I'm vegan. I'm not like out here like, don't eat that because blah, 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 blah. Like, shut the up. I don't eat it because I have my own reasons for not eating it, and I have my own beliefs, and I have my own feelings of, wanting to save animals and save the planet and whatever. And like, I'm not going to force anybody to do that because I wouldn't want them to force me.
So, like, I don't care that she said that many years ago. She's allowed to change her mind, and she's allowed to be this person today who said this, right? And so I think there's something here. Now, I will say right away, this comment here says, as an Indigenous gal, you can love animals and show your gratitude for the food they provide you. Both can be true. So right now, they're making an appeal to culture or feeling. So they're making an appeal to something that they're used to, right? My mom said that to me when she found out I was plant-based. She goes, well, what about the food though? Is that even healthy? What about the food I make you? Like, what are you going to eat? Right? And that's what they're connecting. They're connecting nostalgia, memory, culture, instead of asking oneself, what does it mean to consider that non-human animals could have just as much agency as us in a different capacity? Now, even human beings, human to human, I would make the argument that though I say I value human beings, I don't mean individually, I mean as a whole, because even though I value human beings and I try to be as least violent as possible, I also recognize that if I would hope somebody came to attack me, I would do my best to not kill them. But if I had to, I'd like to believe I would maybe, or maybe I would believe that if I didn't, it would also be right. Like, I don't think I would be wrong for not defending my life. And also, I don't think I'd be wrong for defending my life. So some people would say, no, you would be unethical for not fighting back and killing that person. Some people would say you were stupid or weak for not killing a person who tried to kill you. And I would say, I hold no moral judgment, neither for you not killing the person who's killing you, nor for you killing the person who's trying to kill you. And I would also say that to define that this person was trying to kill you would have to be very obvious. So you are not allowed to seek revenge, hunt somebody down, stalk somebody, or defend yourself by killing somebody who hurt you years ago, right? So it would have to be very in the moment, within context. There's no other option. And this is the best thing you could do in the moment. Not an excuse to kill somebody, but a realization that you must. And the must is still very subjective. You don't have to stay alive, right? So there's the other layer of this conversation that comes into this, right? Human beings thinking that the point of us is to keep us alive. I disagree. I don't think the point of human beings is simply to keep us alive. And if it was, our governments wouldn't be genociding populations constantly, always, right? The point of human beings is... well, it sort of doesn't exist, right? So then you would have to make an argument of like, do we have a point of existing? And I would say no. I would say there is no point or inherent meaning to the existence of anything or any living creature on the planet, or even the fact that planet Earth exists at all. Now, this is a difference here. We're deviating heavily now. So now the deviation is going to be all the people who think we are here because God put us here, or all the people who think we inherently have meaning because evolution has written in our DNA that we must produce children, and then that's our meaning. I would say none of that is really what meaning means, which is why we're always in a meaning crisis. So when we have these conversations, it's going to be really difficult to kind of like really say to ourselves, what do you mean by that? Okay, over on my Bert Simon channel, I made a video saying you should probably be vegan. And the comment sections are a mixture of a lot of different kinds of people. But I think mostly the kind of people who showed up in that comment section were vegans, funny enough. And we're a few non-vegans who are basically trolling, okay? So when we have these conversations, what we're really asking ourselves is, what I would pose to you is, when are human beings, if at all, going to accept that they're animals on the planet as much as any other animal, that they're having a biological experience, and that they could have a deeper relationship with that biological experience? And I do think the deeper I go into my biological experience, the more introspective I become. Obviously, it would lead me to being the least violent possible. Like, is it necessary for me to eat animals to survive? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Okay, easy. I won't eat animals. Okay, and then the word necessary is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Is it necessary for me to exist at all? No, absolutely not. Does that mean I should then kill myself? No, absolutely not, right? But it would bring into question the need to have children. Do I need to have children? Absolutely not. No, right? Does that mean I shouldn't have children? No, absolutely not. So we have to make sure that if we're having a good faith conversation about what we ought to do, the question is, who decides what ought is, right? So that's why I don't make prescriptions. I don't make prescriptions because I don't think human beings ought to do anything. What I would say instead, if you want a society that looks like this, then you must do this. But I would not say there's an inherent ought or prescription to be made, because I don't think there is one. Okay, so let me read chat, and then we'll watch Elle have this conversation with this very nice young person who is trying to understand the vegan argument that I think would bring more depth into this conversation. Okay, so let's see. A couple comments from my chat says, what do we mean by loving animals? That's a great question. What does Billie Eilish mean by loving animals? What do any of us mean? Okay, I'll give you a perfect example of this. So Indiana Jones is my cat, and she is like my Pikachu. So we understand the reference, right? Like Ash's Pikachu. She is like my best friend. She is like my old Yeller. She is everything to me. If I moved to Croatia, you know how people on the internet like to go, oh, Britney moved to Croatia to be with her partner. Britney would not have moved to Croatia if they didn't accept Indiana Jones. I don't think people understand that my life revolves around this animal. If Indiana Jones was not accepted by Croatia customs, I wouldn't have moved here. We would have found a different way. And I married somebody who also agrees with that. Our life revolves around this girl. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. I didn't move to Croatia to be with my partner alone. It was a country that took Indiana. It allowed me to come through. The immigration process was within our budget, and it was reasonable and accessible to us as a couple. Right? So my life is centered, versus when I was moving to Croatia, some of my family members were like, why don't you just get rid of Indiana? And I was like, hi, are you guys psychopaths? And they were like, I know you love her, but why don't you just rehome her? And I was like, hi, are you guys psychopaths? I spent like $1,000 getting the proper like medical checkups and paperwork and everything to get Indiana over here. And they were like, why don't you just save that money? Okay, we are not engaging in the same level of like understanding who Indiana is for me in my life, right? Okay. My brother has a dog named Nimbus, which you've probably seen in my older content. Sometimes I post memories of me and Nimbus together, a husky. He's the greatest in the whole world. He's so great. And though I disagree with the fact that he brought a dog from a breeder, which I think is unethical, Nimbus is alive and we love him. Okay, it is what it is. So one day my brother and I, he has Nimbus and I have Indiana. We're hanging out at my farm brother's place. And my farm brother does raise animal for slaughter. My farm brother has also bred his dogs for farm dogs, and they work on the property. This is all going to come into the story that we're going to cover later, because this girl who is featured on Elle's live stream is also like a farm girly. So you see how the bubbles are different. Okay. So my brother is sitting there with Nimbus, and I'm sitting there with Indiana, and we're sitting outside, and my farm brother goes, "Oh, we're getting rid of the family dog." And I was like, "What did you say?" This family dog that I have pictures of us together, sweetest dog in the whole world. Her name is Rosie. She's the sweetest doggo you've ever seen. Okay. She had a litter of puppies. She's the greatest. She's a bit of a menace, but we love her because she's a curious girly, but we love her. He goes, "I have to get rid of Rosie." And I said, "Why? Rosie's like your best friend." He goes, "Look, I'm a farmer. And at the end of the day, like I got to rehome her because she's breaking into the neighbors' houses. She's leaving the property. She's dug out of all the fences I keep building. And I love her, but like I can't keep her. She's too much work. And like I already work on a farm." And I was like, and so the neighbor came, very nice gentleman. He came to pick up Rosie. And Rosie, in my mind, looked terrified and frustrated that she was leaving my brother, who she loved. And I was like, and I'm like looking at Rosie and we're all looking at her, and my brother and I hold our animals closer. I'm like squeezing Indiana. He's squeezing Nimbus, and we're like watching this sleep. And like, we were like, "Oh my God, why? Like, why would you do this?" And we realized like for us, like this is our companion for life. For my farm brother, he is, he feeds the dogs the best. They get like the best housing, But at the end of the day, he has dogs to work the land. He has dogs to keep his children safe. They work a job, which this lady we're about to listen to will tell you the same story, that her dogs, they're working dogs. Wait, Jazz is breaking into their properties. Though I will tell you, and this is very difficult, Nimbus, oh my God, Nimbus got out one time on my brother's yard, on my brother's farm, and he killed like 12 chickens. Ooh, we were like, Nimbus, like we don't even know. We think he was playing with them. That's the problem, is like the world is so violent, but the irony is those chickens were being raised for eggs. Like they were just working chickens. Like it's not like my brother got chickens. Again, for a farm standard, he takes a lot of good care for the animals, but at the end of the day, they're there to work. And so the question is, why is it ethical for us to breed living creatures into existence just to put them to work? Think about animals like elephants that are abused for tourists in different countries. Think about animals that are used for carrying lumber from back and forth, like trees, right? Like, why do we think it's okay to breed animals into existence just to put them to work? And same thing with children. People used to have children just to put them to work. You must understand that it was a very new concept in America, in the US, to value children as simply existing. They were often looked at as laborers. Okay, that's why your parents had them, right? Give or take. And then that's why in other countries and other places and in America, they also wed their kids off as soon as possible because they can't pay for them. So the question is, when I say have a deeper relationship with your biological experience, I'm not just talking about non-human animals. I'm talking about our kids. I'm talking about us as an animal species. Look how quickly we move to domination and control and all of these horrible things. Netanyahu saying it's better to be Genghis Khan than Jesus. Like Genghis Khan pillaged and raped and murdered. Are you saying it's better to be a murderer, you know what I'm saying, than a gay virgin with 12 gay best friends? Like, that's insane. But here we are. Okay. So again, when we have these conversations, it's not about perfection. It is about asking ourselves, why must we engage in unnecessary violence? And how do we act in accordance with our values? Okay, so I'm not making a prescription. I'm not saying you have to be vegan or plant-based. I'm just saying, here's why I am plant-based and why I still am plant-based and why I think about it. Every day I go to the store, not every day I go to the store, but every time I go to the store, I do go through the meat aisle. I go through the dairy aisle. And I ask myself every day, like, would you like to eat dairy? Would you like to eat meat? I give myself the option, okay, because I'm not a vegan. I'm plant-based. And I say, would you like to eat this? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to eat this. And like, that's the decision I keep making every day. And I'm just going to keep asking myself every day, would you like to eat this? Because that's where I'm at right now. Maybe one day I'll stop asking myself that because I'll be vegan and I won't have to anymore. But since I'm plant-based, I do give myself the option because I can. I'm not making an ethical argument. I'm not saying I am anti the exploitation of animals, though I would like to think I am. I'm not really, because that's it. That's the only thing missing. Isn't that crazy? I'm sitting here telling you right now that I cannot agree to the ethical stance that we shouldn't exploit animals. You should question that. I'm questioning that. Because the truth is that we do engage in exploitation. That's how the whole world was built, exploiting humans and non-human animals. And I that's all it takes to be vegan. Isn't that interesting? Now, obviously, you might say, okay, but what about the exploitation of human beings when it comes to buying iPhones? Yeah, you don't need a new iPhone every year. That's one way to mitigate exploitation. Okay, you don't need one-day shipping for Amazon trucks. Okay, you don't need to complain when your driver doesn't get your package on time because that plays into exploiting workers, right? But you will, won't you? Because you've been told, but that's what you deserve. You deserve one-day shipping. You deserve the carcass of an animal on your table. And because we think we deserve it, we feel entitled to it, and then we act within that entitlement. Okay, so let's watch this debate with Elle. I have timestamps for each argumentation. Keep in mind this girl is young, so just keep that in mind, right? And if anybody asks a question you want me to answer or explore with you, just repeat the question. Actually, wait, hold on. Did I just see one? Can vegans teach the benefits of their lifestyle without the judgment of non-vegans? Can't vegans teach the benefits of their lifestyle without the judgment of non-vegans? Probably not, because most vegan creators they use judgment to make the prescription. We're all judging each other. So no, because the vegans are advocating for something like that they are judging you for. They are judging you for, not being vegan. In the same way that somebody's judging you for being in like child marriage, right? To them, there is a judgment. The question is, are they right about that judgment? I mean, yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think Billy is kind of right. That it in a sense that it's hard to say that I'm pro-life, but I believe in the death penalty. It's weird to say I love animals, but I'm going to eat them. Instead, I might say, I love animals within a capacity that also allows me to eat them. So I love them kind of, or I love them sort of. I'm pro-life, but sort of. I'm sort of pro-life, right? But I don't think you can say, I love animals and I want to protect all the animals. Also, I'm going to eat animals, right? Instead, you have to face yourself and say, I love my kids, but I love God more. And that would be honest. My parents love God more than they love me. That's okay. I can handle that. I can understand that. It's the same way that even if I don't always get something, if my friend came to me and said, hey, Britt, that really bothers me, I'd be like, you know what? I love you. I will take it into consideration because I love you. And because I love you, I might even engage. Like, I don't say fuck in front of my mother and father because I love them and it offends them. But my mother and father will say shit in front of me because their love for me is different, right? They have a different way of expressing that love because their love is trumped by God. I don't have a God to trump my love for my parents. Okay, so love is an interesting concept. What is love? That's what philosophy has been arguing this whole time. What is love, right? Okay, let's start this conversation.
Chicken is usually my main gripe that I have with vegans, and I feel some people under the vegetarian umbrella eat chicken. I'm not sure if that's true, though. I did hear that because I know pescatarian. Yes,
I'm really going to come across as rude because I keep cutting in. I'm so sorry, but that's not engaging with what I was saying.
Okay, so this is only 11 minutes in, and Elle's at the bottom left, and then the guest is not pictured on the screen. So the problem with this guest is they're young. I think they're 18. The second problem with the guest is that they're coming from a farming background in North Carolina, I believe. North or South, one of those. The other problem is that they really are genuinely struggling to understand what Elle is saying. So it starts here. Here's where Elle finally puts down her foot and says, you're not getting me. Okay.
Okay,
Do you know what I asked you?
Tell me what you want me to talk about.
Yeah, I want to know why you believe it's justified to use animals in ways that you probably wouldn't think it's justified to do to a human. Like, I don't think you'd think it's justified to breed humans into existence, to farm them, send them to a slaughterhouse and eat them, or use their bodies as clothes or something like that. But you do for non-human animals, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I want to know
I
why
think
you
that's
believe
okay.
that's justified.
It's justified because it helps people. I'm sorry.
Oh, hold on, chat. Hold on. Chat says, does your levels framework stop you from seeing animal exploitation as unethical? Like, do you have to radically accept humans engage in behaviors that harm animals for survival? Can you expand on that? I do think animal exploitation is unethical. To be clear, I do think it's deeply unethical to exploit. I think all exploitation is deeply unethical. All forms of exploitation is unethical, period. And yet, right? And yet, again, if vegans wanted to change their definition or the way that they act, then I could be vegan. Okay, so here's the dilemma. Vegan is a construct created by people. And from my understanding, okay, I think all forms of exploitation are bad, and I still own a computer. Right? Veganism is unique in the sense that it doesn't allow you to ever eat honey, ever have a pastry, ever engage in any consumption of animal product, ever. So it is uniquely strict. Most of us engage in levels of, I mean, even when it comes to consent, I would argue that all of us engage in non-consensual behavior almost on a daily basis. But I am super, again, like about informed consent, right? So veganism is a uniquely strict philosophical framework. It requires you to like never engage in order to be vegan. Versus most of us will know that we will engage in some level of unethical behavior, and we just try to mitigate because it's a harm reduction philosophy. Veganism is not a harm reduction philosophy. So that's why it's in a uniquely strict framework, right? Unless anybody wants to correct me on that.
If this is coming off as rude, but you have to have some privilege to be a vegan. Being a vegetarian is most likely the highest level that you could reach if you do not have the money to sustain a vegan lifestyle. I can go buy a can of chickpeas, and that can be my protein source.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna be happy.
Okay, first of all, I just bought 2 big cans of chickpeas in my cupboard, and I cannot wait to eat them tonight. Chickpeas go hard. As a West Asian, chickpeas are in everything. What do you think hummus is made out of? Chickpeas, Habibi. We have like 20 different meals that just require chickpeas. We have a chickpea soup. We have hummus. We have so much chickpea bread. We have so much chickpea. Like the idea that you brought in chickpeas, like it isn't a staple in West Asian culture. You know what I'm saying?
And I know that this sounds really selfish, but I'm not going to be unhappy when I eat. The world sucks.
Okay, now listen to this argumentation. So now the argumentation is about and I think this is important and normal. This is a common reaction to vegan argumentation, right? And I absolutely get it, but listen to her thought process.
Really selfish, but I'm not going to be unhappy when I eat. The world sucks. I want happiness too. And if my happiness is a cooked chicken breast instead of a can of garbanzo beans, I'm going to eat the chicken breast.
Okay, so just to double.
Okay, right? So now she's making an argument that like, hey, life sucks. I'm going to do it anyways. That's most people's argumentation, especially in survival mode. Like survival mode tells your brain, you know what? I'm surviving. Fuck it. I'm going to do this bad thing because life fucking sucks. And that's why human beings, that's why the world's a reflection of us as a whole. That's why I want to get us to living mode. This is why philosophy feels very privileged, because you do have to have the privilege of actually attempting to be a good person. In a world full of really bad people, in a world where the government is blowing up countries and then we're out here trying to use paper straws. Yeah, philosophy is deeply privileged because most people don't have the privilege to even try to be a good person. That's why I think it's funny that people think they're good. Because if you don't have the time to be good, then why are you arguing that you're good? Now, I understand from an animal perspective, we're all good because we're doing our best, right? But the truth is like, you're not that good. You're actually making the argument that you're a bad person. And that's why you can't bother to be good. Okay. But then that would argue that rich people are good because they have money. They're not. Rich people have money and they're deeply evil. So the truth is, it's obviously not about money. It is about how you use and process and have a relationship with money, right? Lots of rich people are some of the worst people who have ever existed, right? Chat says, is it ethical to think if you raise an animal and loved and cared for it, and when it got time to pass away of old age or so, and we kill it and eat it? So that was an argument I wondered about the vegans too. Like, what if you let the animal die of natural causes and then you eat it? Okay. What if you were, this is a really gross, but analogous, I think analogous and very similarly, I think so. I think this is a good argument. You can tell me if it's not. Okay. You have a girl in the neighborhood who has rejected you for advances, but after she dies, you rape her dead body, right? She's dead. Who is it going to hurt? Who does it matter to, right? She's not there. She can't feel it. What does it matter? You know, it's like you waited till she was dead. Okay. Like, what does it matter? Who does it hurt? You can say, oh, it hurts her family. Okay. Well, how do you know it's not hurting the chicken's family? Like those cows who get their children taken from them, like cows die over, like cows can mourn, right? Like what if the family never knows? Okay, we'll do you one more. What if the family never finds out? Did you as an individual do something unethical if no one ever found out? And that's really why philosophy is so difficult, because it tests your morals. It tests your actual ethics. Like if nobody saw you rape this corpse, did you do anything wrong? I would say yes. I would say deeply unethical action has taken place. And I would say it came at not only the expense of your victim, it came at the expense of yourself, right? And that's the part that I think is really difficult for people, because they forget that they have to consider themselves in this process. You have hurt yourself. It is a form of self-harm. So now you've hurt yourself. So the question is, what good does it do you to eat a chicken if no one can see you? Who does it benefit? Now you might say, oh, well, I was hungry, but now I'm full. Yes, but is it necessary? Now, keep in mind, we don't normally eat animals that die of an old age, because by that point, it's not as nutritional, nor good meat. So as an example, we have this thing, mutton is like older sheep that's been killed older. It's not very good. People generally don't like it. I've had it. It's not as good as lamb. Lamb is a baby lamb. It's a baby sheep. It's fucking good. We usually eat animals when they're when they're young, because they taste better and there's more nutrition. So even if we let animals get to the point of old age and die and then eat them, we generally don't even want to eat them at that stage. So what's the benefit of eating an old animal that's died of natural causes or of disease? You know what I mean? Like that's not ideal either for our consumption. So these are the kinds of questions you have to ask yourself. That's why it's so hard. That's why philosophy is so exhausting for people. Because you know what I mean? Chet said, darn, I love mutton. Listen, I didn't mind it when I had it, but I also think I don't ever want to have it again. You know what I mean? And we knew that sheep we killed. We knew her. We called her Mama Sheep because she had a baby. And we killed her and we killed her baby. Damn. Chet says, but what about plants that do have feelings? If we find out that the pain that plants feel is equal or similar to the sentience that the way a sentient animal feel death, then yes, we will stop eating plants. Guys, we'll just stop eating plants. I know everyone likes to talk about, but what about plants? What about them? We'll stop eating them too. Yeah. If we do the science, because I think plants are alive, that's a fact. Now, whether or not their type of aliveness is the same to the harm we're trying to prevent, that's the ethical question. If we find out it is, we will also stop eating plants.
Check. If farming humans helped other humans and reduced unhappiness, would you believe it's justified?
It wouldn't reduce unhappiness because humans are attracted to humans, and we have this love of humans that we already know. And I'm not saying you can't love an animal. What I'm saying is this is how it is.
Oh, wait, sorry. That whole story with my farm brother, I really get distracted. Talk about neurodivergency. People thought he was so fucked up for that. And I did too. But we didn't think he was fucked up for killing animals and eating it, right? What about the parents who kill their children's pets to feed them dinner? What if I killed Indiana and I ate her? Would you guys think less of me if I killed Indiana and I ate her? Or if I had a pet rabbit and I killed it and ate it? Would you call me a psychopath? Would you think I was crazy? And then the question is, why? Why am I crazy? right? Like, why am I actually crazy? Because I formed a bond with her? Okay, but then you're saying that the only difference between Indiana and every other animal is whether or not we formed a bond or we had a bond with them. So as long as we don't have a bond with them, they don't matter, which is kind of how people feel about kids who aren't theirs. That's not my kid. I don't know that kid. That kid's not my responsibility. I didn't have that kid. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, ooh, that's interesting. You know what I mean? That's interesting. Why do people feel that way? Why do we judge people? Now, I understand. I do think the context matters. And I agree with you in some way that I would think less of a person who gave away a pet. And yet I'm challenging myself to think, okay, why does it require a human's validation for me to value the life? Kind of like a woman or a girl. Men don't consider the value of a girl until it's somebody's daughter or somebody's mother. And we always yell at them for that. Why does she have to be someone's mother? Why does she have to be someone's daughter? Why isn't she just inherently valuable on her own? Why aren't cats inherently valuable on their own? Why are cows not inherently valuable on their own? Why do they need a human approval for us to decide they're valuable?
It's how it has been. And I know everybody gets on the gripe about the historical thing. It's how it has been. It's how it is now. Yes.
Sorry, I really just want the point engaged with because we're going off. I didn't ask, is it possible for it to not reduce happiness or anything like that? I'm saying it's a conditional. So if farming humans helped other humans and reduced their unhappiness, say if they were cannibals, they really enjoyed farming humans, would you believe it morally justified to do?
Well, cannibalism is a crime in a lot of countries and a lot of states.
So now it's a legal argument instead of an ethical argument. I just watched the Dr. Daff, one conservative versus 20 liberal women. And the conservative was like, I believe an abortion is the murder of a human being, something like that. And they're like, okay, murder is a legal term. And she's like, well, I'm talking about God. And they're like, so you're talking about religion. She goes, well, I'm talking about ethics. And they go, so you're not talking about murder. Guys, if we're having debates and conversations and discussions, we have to agree on what the words mean. Murder is a legal term. Okay, so when we're talking about ethics, that's what veganism is. Veganism is an ethical argument. It is not a legal argument, right? Chad said, would you eat your brother in a moment of toughness? No. Or for survival? No, I don't think so. I've thought about it before. There are many stories about humans eating each other for survival. I don't think so. And to be honest, I wouldn't eat my cat either. My brother and I, we pose that to each other. If Nimbus and him were stuck in the desert, and if Indiana and I were stuck in the desert, and we were going to die, would we eat Nimbus or would we eat Indiana? And we decided no, we wouldn't eat them. And then the question is, well, would you eat another animal? So in our heads at the time, we were like, yeah, because we don't know that animal. But then now, with where I'm at now, maybe not. Now, vegans would say, and vegans would allow this stipulation. They would allow this stipulation, right? In the same way most of us allow stipulations in survival mode, like stealing food. Generally, I'm against stealing food unless you need it to survive. And then in that case, I don't care if you steal food. But I don't think Jeff Bezos is allowed to steal food. Right? You have the money, you don't have to steal. So generally, I would say don't steal food. And yet, I would also not turn someone in for stealing food, right? So it just depends on the context, because I don't believe in objective morality. So then the context would bear the weight of putting in front of us the options we had. So again, maybe I would example, would I eat honey to survive? Yeah, probably. Definitely. Would I eat eggs? Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely, probably. Would I kill a chicken to survive? I would rather eat the egg than the chicken. So if I could survive on just eggs, I would do that. Right? But if it's about like doing the least amount of harm possible, even in survival mode.
It's not a crime to eat a chicken.
So
Cannibals are known.
Talis, if it were legal to do so, would you believe it's morally acceptable? I'm talking about moral justification. I'm not talking about legal justification.
No, it's not moral to kill a human.
Okay.
I don't know how to put this. Can I ask you like a really way to kill a human?
Justification.
No. It's not moral to kill a human.
It's not moral to kill a human ever? Like, no matter what? That's interesting.
Okay.
I don't know how to put this. Can I ask you like a really small question? A would you rather?
We can table that just for a second. I'll put would you rather sort of thing. So because so far we've got an inconsistency here unless we can point to a morally significant difference between the humans and the other non-human animals. So what's the morally significant difference that would make it justified to, you know, send the animals to the slaughterhouses, but not the human animal?
I'm going to ask you the question because it's very much the equivalent of what you're asking me, and I'm sure you'll find it pretty hard to answer too.
Can you?
You're
I'll do it after. Just answer the morally significant difference, and then you can ask me the question for sure.
I love animals, but animals are food. That's the thing. Humans are not food.
Okay, so when Billie Eilish said, going back to Billie, right? You guys were so mad at her, but listen to Billie again.
Things cannot coincide. I love animals. I love all animals so much, and I eat meat. You just...
Right? Billie is saying that because of people like this who say, I'm sorry, but animals are food. So you agree, it's very hard to love animals and to be like, but animals are food. I love women, but they are sex objects. I love women, but they are really here for me to get off. Like, I love children, but honestly, like, fuck them. It's like, I like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when we say like, I love something, I always say like, oh, what do you mean by love? This is why we end up in abusive relationships, because we think a man who loves us also beats us somehow. We actually think that, because otherwise, why would we be in abusive relationships? Because we're made to believe that abuse could also engage in love. Right? So the question is, why do we do this as a species over and over again? Why do we consistently confuse abuse for love?
Animals are food. Animals are fur. Animals are leather. Animals are a healthy way of getting natural sources from the earth that isn't a plant. 99% of plants in the world are toxic. We have plants that aren't toxic.
Chad said, does Steve Irwin eat meat? I'll do you one extra. I think people like Steve Irwin are unethical. Why are you bothering animals? Why are you in their habitat? Why are you filming them? Why are you wrestling with gators? Leave animals alone. Leave them alone. Right? I'm just saying, like, some of these people who go, oh, I love animals, are filming them for YouTube reels and like bothering the fuck out of them.
And that's why veganism works.
Please, I've asked you to go linearly. I've asked for a morally significant difference. You're talking about animals being food. You could turn humans into food. You could turn them into leather. People have done that. So it's not morally significant.
And by the way, Chad said that's why I asked, what do we mean by love? Because in my concept of love, you couldn't love animals and eat them. I do think human beings love and abuse. Maybe bell hooks would disagree, but I think that's why love is such a hard thing to conceptualize. I think we have a limited concept around love. It's very limited and it's not always black and white and it doesn't always apply in every situation. But I would say that I remember one time I had a falling out with a YouTuber and they were like, we were friends. I was like, if we were friends, you wouldn't have cut me off like that and ghost me. Like you would have had the conversation with me. And then another friend did that to me, like the same friend that was like, yeah, that was so fucked up of him, literally did it to me next. And I was like, why do all, like, then I realized it's not like that. I remember in the Discord, we had the biggest debate about Guts and Griffith, if they were friends. Yes, they were friends. And then he betrayed him. Friends can betray you. That's what I'm saying. Like, we keep sitting in a world where we're like, you can't be my real friend and do this to me. Real friends can fuck you over. Yeah, I think people who love you can be cruel to you because I think they're having a limited relationship with their biological experience. So they are unable to, right? They're unable to really recognize like they are causing the harm, which is why vegans are frustrated because they're like, you want to play this game where you're like, I love animals, but I want to eat them. It's like, what is that? You know what I mean? Versus saying like, yeah, why can't we ask ourselves, why are we so offended at this question? You know? That's what I think started this plant-based journey for me as well. Is like, man, why do I get so angry when people tell me I can't eat animals? And I'm like, that should tell me that I need to sit the fuck down and ask myself, why does it bother me? And then I was like, oh, it's because they're right. I think they are right. I think we can't do this, because it's not just eating animals, guys, that they're criticizing. We're farming them into existence so they can die. We're birthing them, paying money for a whole a culture, like a whole industry. We're killing the rainforest for them. We're literally chopping down the rainforest to breed animals into existence, where it's coming at the expense of climate change, ourselves, our planet, our health. Like, you're not even supposed to be eating red meat as much as we eat red meat willy-nilly. You're not even supposed to be eating that much red meat. It's bad for you. So, you know what I mean? They're not just saying don't eat an animal. They're saying don't engage in systems of oppression that also actually have a relationship with human trafficking. I featured this on my video, but even the United States government is trying to tackle human trafficking in fisheries because they're out in the oceans. They're less able to keep track of everything. Men are being kidnapped to work on boats to gather fish for you to eat. Men. So if men really care about men, they should start boycotting fish industries. I'm just saying.
Significant difference. You're talking about materials that are made from murder victims in these humans. What's the morally significant difference is the question.
The moral difference is that animals are food, humans are not.
So she's saying animals inherently exist to feed humans. So now she's being, you know what I'm saying? That's her argumentation. Think about that argumentation, and now think about Billie Eilish. And now it makes sense why Billie's saying you can't love animals and eat them. And this girl might say, oh, I love animals, but they're food. I mean, I love food, and also, right?
Humans can be turned into food, and a pig in front of you is not food. They're a sentient being, correct?
A living pig in front of me is a sentient being who I will love, and I will be, oh my goodness, you are so cute and I love you. But when I'm eating bacon with my breakfast sandwich, I'm not thinking about that pig. I'm thinking about the bacon.
Yeah, but this is, as PM says, this is a category error. I'm talking about, I want a morally significant.
Also, a lot of people are fighting for us to actually call food what it is, because we do that. We call things they aren't, like beef and bacon instead of cow and pig, you know? And I think it changes, but then we see whole ducks being eaten, whole pigs being eaten, whole fish being eaten. So like something, you know, whatever you need to do to really accept what you're doing. Like, people talk about abortion all the time about this. Like, well, they'll be like, Brittany, do you think abortion is killing a baby? I think abortion is terminating a human life in progress. Yeah. And they're like, do you think it's killing a baby? I'm like, what's a baby? What do you think a baby is? Because I called my 19-year-old brother, well, when he was 19, I'd call him a baby, but he's not a baby. But he is a baby to me. He's like 22 now, 23. He's still a baby. So what's a baby? What do you mean by baby? You know what I mean? And then we have to argue about like, what is a baby? But yes, do I agree it's terminating a human life in progress? Yeah. And they'll say, oh, so you're okay with killing people. And I'm like, well, I'm okay with the consensual termination of a life in progress within reason. And then even so, there are the same people who won't allow cognizant adults like to consent to ending their life. And I'm like, why not? And they're like, because you can't die. Yeah, but why can't I die? Well, it's wrong to die. Why is it wrong to die? You know what I mean? So we really are having so many, and it's usually, oh, because I want you here. I want you here. Oh, so you want me here, but you won't pay my bills? You want me here, but you keep voting against my civil rights? Oh, you want me here. Now, I would say to the individual who wants to die, do you want to commit suicide or chosen death? Are you ready to die and it's really like a healthy choice? Or are you feeling pushed to die? And if you're feeling pushed to die, I want to encourage you to choose a different path. Because there's a difference between being pushed to die and choosing to die. Okay? Needing to eat meat and feeling entitled to eating meat. These are two different things. It's like when men say like, we need sex. Like, sex in a relationship is a requirement. Like, I require sex. Do you require sex? Or do you think you require sex? Do you need sex? Well, it depends on what you mean by sex. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot here that when people say, I need this thing, do you need it? Or do you think you need it? Because men have been brainwashed to believe they need sex. But do you need sex? Or do you need intimacy? Do you need orgasm? Do you need physical touch? Do you need lots of kisses? Do you need lots of hand holding? Do you need lots of closeness? Do you need lots of anime date nights? Do you need sex? And then what is sex, right? So this idea of need is it's an interesting word.
Difference intrinsic to the pig. That's different intrinsic to the human, within the human. That means you say, okay, now it's justified to stab you for a purpose that I would like to use you for.
Animals cannot think the same way that humans do. That is a moral difference. That is a mental difference.
But we think differently, you and I, and we're both human.
You think differently than me.
Yep.
That is what it is. And somebody will always go, well, what about a human with a mental disorder where they can't talk? They're still human and they can still have thoughts like a human. Just because they can't get it out of their mouth, just because they're slightly slower, does not mean that they aren't human. A human.
No, wait. You're messing when you're saying these words.
Reminder that this person is really young.
It's not.
They remind me of a young Britney, to be honest. Like when I would debate when I was really young, and like, it's, you know what I mean? It almost sounds like but it's wrong. They're not grasping it. So I think they're 18. So I'm very empathetic to their positioning.
But they're not human if they can't.
And this is their first debate.
Communicate vocally in various languages or think differently. They're still human beings. So it sounds like what you're saying is the morally significant difference isn't a thought process, because these animals are having thought processes and ours are different, yours and I, and humans can have a variation. The difference is that they're human.
I don't think you're exactly grasping what I'm saying. If you said, like...
I love how many times she says that in this debate, but it's just that she's not grasping what Ella's saying. But Ella's heard this argument 1,000 times. Elle is so fucking patient because Elle really does do this for a living. I mean, the same questions every time, even from me. Even when I talk to Elle, I asked her the same fucking question everyone always asks. And I was like, it is me. So she's used to it. The same way I'm used to it when people talk about free will and choice and ethics and morals and like policing people's language and dark woke. I'm happy to answer these questions 1,000 times because that's what I've chosen to do. Elle too. So I think it's funny that the non-vegan girl is like, you're not understanding me. Habibi, she's heard this 1,000 times, but I love it. I love it.
If you called your dog a bitch in a very neutral tone, your dog doesn't care.
Neither would a human if they spoke Mandarin and didn't understand English. If I called them a bitch, they probably wouldn't care either because they wouldn't know what that means. But I don't see, that's not a morally significant difference.
You can call a dog a bitch in any language and it still won't understand.
I disagree. I think Indiana understands English 100%. I am fully convinced Indiana Jones understands me. I do. I really believe that. Like, I know you guys think I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. I think she really understands me. Mm-hmm.
And what's going on.
Neither will some humans.
You can bark at it. You can bark at a dog and it still won't understand what you're saying. That's not how it is.
This isn't
Animals have jobs.
This isn't a morally significant difference because there are humans who are going to lose this trait, but it's still going to be of value to you.
What's like a moral claim to you? Because this is how I feel. I feel animals are meat and I am okay with eating what keeps me healthy.
Humans are animals, though. So what's the morally significant difference?
The morally significant difference is that we have civilization. We have created things. Animals cannot do that. An animal may be able to build like a little stick tower, and they might be like that. But animals like that are the ones that we do not consume. A chicken walks around on 2 feet, it clucks, and it's happy in a little field until we have to kill it and eat it.
This isn't a significant difference because you were just talking about killing pigs because pigs build nests.
Pigs do build nests.
Mm-hmm.
Chet said termites have a civilization, and I've eaten a termite. I was in Belize, and we came across these huge termite nests. And the guide was like, he poked one and he ate one. He's like, you want to try it? And my friend and I were like, fuck yeah, we'll try it. So we poked our hand in the nest and then we ate one. It tasted like wood, but I've eaten a termite straight out of its nest. That's what I'm saying, girlies. I was one of those girls that I was like barbecuing, making my own jerky. I'll eat anything once. Like I was that girl. I was like, put it in front of me and I'll eat it. Eyeballs, tongues, balls, legs, feet, hooves, anything. Like, put it in front of me and I would eat it. So this is a very big deal for me to go plant-based. I'm telling you right now, this is a very big deal.
So this again,
That's
this isn't,
okay.
and I don't think I've never built anything, Callus. Do you think it's morally acceptable to farm me? I didn't build civilization or anything. And if I say, for example, if I lost ability to even do that, would I then
You built
lose
a Lego
value?
tower as a kid.
Chad said, have you tried cricket? I have tried cricket. Yep, I have.
Probably.
Sorry.
An animal can't build a Lego tower.
So just to be clear, if a human can't build anything, you would think it's justified to farm them?
No, I'm not going to say that because human beings should not be farmed.
What would
Because human
what-
beings are
what
human
would-
beings. I
what
don't know
would-
how more fun
Okay,
I
so
can
it is-
be.
Listen. She goes, I don't know how much more clear I can be. Like, how much can I say? You can't farm human beings or human beings. What does that mean? This is why philosophy is so difficult, because you can't just say, oh, because they're humans. Oh, because that's my daughter. Oh, because that's my dad. That's not a reason. Why? What is your why? This is why I love this conversation, because I know this girl is really trying, but she doesn't have the tools yet. Like most people don't. I think she's this is how most people are to me. When I talk to most people, this is what they sound like to me, including my past self, including past Brittany. Like, oh yeah, this is why I would do it. And I'm like, you have to know why you're doing it. This is why I love philosophy. That's why I say a deeper relationship with your biological experience, a deeper understanding of your why, right? Okay, let me show you the next timestamp, which is just a few minutes. Oh, it's actually just like a minute ahead. So let's just do it.
If you're in a situation, a baby deer
Okay,
is
listen.
dying and a human baby is dying, and you only have time to get one to the
I
hospital.
saved the human baby.
Which one are
Yeah, I
to the
saved the human
hospital.
baby. Yeah.
Why?
Because I probably on aggregate value the human baby more. What's this got to do with not being vegan? Sorry.
I'm sorry, what did you just say? Why would you pick the human baby?
Did you not hear me?
No.
Did anyone else hear me?
Yeah, I heard you fine.
I heard you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it again. I value probably on aggregate the human baby more. What has this got to do with it being justified to send animals to
Why do you
slaughterhouses?
value the baby more than an animal?
Probably
You're
sentience.
asking me the exact same thing.
Sentience level, probably. But you don't understand, right? When we're talking about this isn't analogous to a vegan saying when is it acceptable to then stab an individual to violate their rights. You understand that? This is a situation
Yeah, and
where
I
I
want
can
to know.
save individuals.
I-
Yeah, then that's fine. But then when we look at a value
So basically what that girl asked Elle is, if you have 5 kittens and 1 moose, who do you save? That's kind of like what the question is like. So it's like, you would make the decision the same. If I saw, okay, here's a better question. We used to ask this question to my brothers. The house is burning down and Nibis, the dog, is in the house. Indiana, the cat, is in the house. Do you go save little brother who's in his 20s, or do you save the dog? And we all said we save the dog, because we expect 20-year-old brother to get out of the house. We would scream, brother, brother, the house is on fire. He'd be like, oh shit. We'd be like, get out of the house. And then he would get out of the house and we would go save the dog, because Nimbus might be too afraid. Indiana might scurry under a bed thinking like that's what she should do, right? So we put into plans this conversation as a family, so we all know what to do in case something bad happens. Who do we save first? Kids, animals, old people, disabled people, everybody else, right? You help the people that can't get out. And in this case, it's the animals who might be too afraid to move, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that's the whole problem with these conversations is like, oh, would you rather save the human baby or the deer? Is the human baby dead or nearly dead? Is the deer, like, can I save both? No? Okay, the human baby. Why the human baby? Well, first of all, I'm a human. So I do prioritize naturally human beings over other animals. And yet, I don't need to, when it comes to being vegan, prioritize animals over human beings in order to be vegan. So
system whereby we are breeding individuals.
the same way that if it was my child or someone else's child, I might save my child over that child. excuse me, might. You never know. But also, can I save both? But you know what I'm saying? It's, you know,
individuals into existence with the purpose of our own use against their best interests and sending them to a slaughterhouse. This is a different question. Do you appreciate that?
I appreciate that it's a different question. I just don't understand how you could pick that human baby and then also go on to just be like, oh, it has more value than the baby deer, when exactly how you think is that animals are equal to humans.
Wait, that's a straw man.
wouldn't you
That's a
pick
straw
the
man. When did I say that? Sorry.
I'm sorry, that's a well-known vegan thing, is that you think that animals are equal to human.
I
Humans.
believe that they should have equalized rights insofar as just their traits or their attributes. So if
see, this is the problem when having this conversation, because you're making a lot of assumptions. Things don't have to be equal to each deserve dignity. And equal is a myth made up by our brains. Equal doesn't exist. Equal is a construct we've created. It's not real. So I would argue, if you go back to the very beginning of the universe, we're all equal because we're all the same. We're all a part of the universe. But then if you get down to friendships, well, maybe not all friends are the same because all friends serve a different purpose. Not all neighbors are the same. Neighbors are different. Not all siblings are the same. So the idea of like, oh, we're equal. What does equal even mean? That's why when people say, are men and women equal? You don't even know what you're asking. You're not even asking a real question. That's not even a real question. But it sounds like a good question. Are animals and humans equal? Equal to what? Equal who? Equal to whom? Like, what is this question?
there is an animal who is more sentient than a human being, then yeah, they would then say you had this sentient alien capable of so much well-being, so much or so much suffering. They could suffer 300,000 times more than a human. I would save the alien baby over the human. It's because it's going to be sentience.
It's kind of like veganism is almost like, it's sort of like littering. Like billions of people litter every year. There's really no reason not to litter. Why don't you litter? Like, why don't you litter? There's really no reason not to, right? There's no real, like, give me all the reasons why you shouldn't litter. Like, really. We look down on people who litter, a gum wrapper, more than people who slaughter animals for a living, more than people who breed creatures into existence for us to eat. That's what's so interesting about us. And by the way, you didn't even make that choice. That's not your free will. That is the meat industry, because the world did not work this way as a whole. Many cultures, many civilizations, many of us lived off vegetables and crops for most of our existence. Okay. Meat was always a part of our diet, but very rarely for a lot of people. It was definitely a sign of privilege. And also, right, a lot of the way we eat is about hierarchy. It is about proving we're better than you. It's about bragging that we're better than you. And it's about gluttony. So even this week, I'm doing my food budget for you guys to show you how I eat on plant-based food. So I spend 58 USD a week eating vegan or plant-based, eating plant-based. Okay. So just to understand it, if I was in America, it'd maybe be $65, maybe a little bit more, just because I know America's a little bit more expensive. Okay. Or US is more expensive. But I spend 58 USD a week eating plant-based. So when people go like, oh, it's really expensive, Brittany. Yeah, because it is a skill to learn how to eat well. It is a skill. I admit that. And I don't live in a food desert, so I have a privilege there, right? Yes, for one person. Yes, for one person. For just me, for just my calorie intake, for just my diet, it's 58 USD a week or 50 euro a week. Okay. And hold on.
But this doesn't engage with the issue that we have, where, look, Joe's put it in the...
Hold on. What did they just ask?
...than a human. I would save the alien baby.
Oh, this is about like doing less harm when it is capable within reason for your life, right? So it is within reason within my life to make sure I'm not being gluttonous and eating more than I need to. So I gave myself a budget that gets me exactly my calorical intake that I need and doesn't make me feel like I'm suffering or punishing myself. And we came down to this number, right? Chat said, isn't that kind of high? No. A week? A week? Not a day, guys. A week. Did I say a day? A week. How much does are you kidding me? The average American is spending $50 a day, bro. How much does Americans spend on food a week. 270. The average American household spends 270 per week, about $1,000 a month. No, most people spend, some people are spending 300 a week on a quick Google search. No, people are spending a lot of money on food, y'all. Like a lot of money on food. No, I think we're doing really good. I'm really proud of our setup. So no, a lot of people are spending a lot of money. Like that's what I'm saying. Most of the, like, I knew a guy who spent $2,000 a month on eating out, singular person. Yeah, no, a lot of people are eating. Like that's what I'm saying. Like most of the people I know spend $15 to $20 a day eating out or eating food. Generally. Yeah. They're like always shocked at how much we eat because they're like, how do you eat all this food? And I'm just like, well, we eat at home. And I learned it from my parents. My parents taught me to do it. My parents had 10 kids. You think they were spending, you know what I'm saying? Like we had to learn to feed 10 kids on one income. And we were all eating good. Like nobody was hungry and everybody was getting thirds and fourths. You really learn how to cook for yourself when you're feeding that many kids, you know?
Be over the human.
But that's the point is like, people say you can't do it. Like, oh, I can't learn to eat on that much. You can do it, but you have to figure it out, you know? Chet said, I guess because I thought groceries were cheaper in Europe. Well, they are cheaper in Europe than America, I'm pretty sure. But our groceries are going up too. Like Croatia's groceries are definitely up. But I think some of the things are basically the same price. It just depends on what you're eating. But sometimes I go on Walmart.com and put together a grocery list to see if I could eat at Walmart. And it's about the same. It's a couple dollars different. Because I do wonder, like, if I was in the US, how would I eat? But it's kind of the same staples. Lentils, rice, like tofu. Like, a lot of things are still the staples in America. Like, people just don't know how to make rice. They don't know how to eat beans. They don't know how to make lentils. They don't know how to eat ramen. They don't know how to eat things. Because we're not raised in an environment that teaches us. It's not your fault. But, like, you have to learn how to eat. I know that sounds silly, but when I moved out of my parents' house for the first time, I had to learn how to eat food. And I had to learn to eat for one person. It's actually incredibly hard, but you will get it. And once you do, you're like, oh my gosh.
Because it's going to be sentience. But this doesn't engage with the issue that we have, where, look, Joe's put it in the outreach and debate text. Look, you have these individuals who you're saying breed into existence and stab. You said the pigs. Okay, what is it about them? Because now can we go back? Because I've answered the question. It's going to be sentience level on aggregate.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So now
we do not have.
You know what's interesting too? In Croatia, it was the first time in my life I ever had veal. You know what veal is? Veal is baby cow that they keep chained to a fence so it can't move a lot and it gets really fat and then they slaughter the baby cow. And most, like 99% of the beef here is veal. A baby cow. They impregnate dairy moms, kidnap their babies, and then slaughter them. And that's most of the beef that people eat here.
Go ahead. I don't want to.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Yeah. So the attribute that you noted of value to you is the fact that they're human beings. So I'm just wondering. So, say if you had like a scanner, you know, like in sci-fi films where they scan people, and then you found out like, oh, like Homo sapiens sapien, it's not actually like the only human right now. Like. We've these people who look like humans are not actually humans. They're like, I don't know, human prime or something. Is it going to be justified to send them to the slaughterhouse? Because they're not human. Okay.
If you're borderlining a human, you will.
Okay, listen to this. If they're borderline human, this is the premise of the argument that's the most hard to deconstruct, because what we're doing is we're putting value on human beings more than anything else because they're borderline human.
Will have the moral and social capacity.
Borderline a human.
To live among humans.
What does borderline a human mean?
If you're talking about animals that we evolved from, like apes or monkeys, those aren't hunted.
Wait.
Unless by game hunters who are the worst people on the planet. I don't agree with people killing elephants either. This is just a moral thing. I think farm animals are farm animals because they have no cognitive, like, mental capacity. They don't have morals, and they can have social capacities, but it's far different from what me as a person who is not a vegan would say is a social capacity. They can, like, have friends and they can breed willingly, but they're not going to have that same relationship that a human would have with another human.
So just to be clear, borderline a human means you are protected from being bred into existence to be used by humans and stabbed in a slaughterhouse. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, you know, like E.T., he comes down, we can farm him.
They're going to go into this whole conversation about ET. Hold on. I'm going to skip it around a little bit, but like she really struggles to understand analogies, which is fine. She's a very literal thinker. They're also both gay women, which I think is funny. And I think they're both neurodivergent, which is even funnier. So this conversation gets a little funny. But Chad said, question on the ethics of milk. Is it only for the cow to be pregnant or so to produce? I don't know if that's a dumb question, but I'm curious why milk and butter is bad. So the way to get milk and butter at the rate that we get them and the way that we get them requires the exploitation of female cows to be forced impregnated and constantly milked through machinery, right? In order to produce the level of milk and butter that we produce. If we were living on a mountain seaside and the cows were getting pregnant organically and organically were being milked, or we helped them along and we happen to benefit somewhat from their milk in a way that didn't feel exploitative, though people would argue that the milk is meant for the baby cow, literally. So then the mom produced the baby and the baby ate the milk, then there would be none left over for us. So then why would we have milk, right? There's a whole other level. But even if it was that like most organic, amazing, wow, like whatever, the baby calf got fed and we got fed, we just wouldn't produce the amount of milk and butter. And therefore milk and butter would become like what rich people would exploit as like valuable. And then they'd be like priced $1,000 per gram or $1,000 per milliliter. And then it would be like milk and butter are just like the ultimate goal for the rich and successful under capitalism. It's like, Jesus, everything will become, and the way that it is, I was watching this vegan cook who was French, from France, and he was French taught. And he said the French in particular were pretty grotesque with the way that they would eat things. They would like stuff animals into animals just to show how rich they were, just to show how like how entitled they were almost to animal bodies. And it was always a sign. That's what I'm saying. Like adulthood is high school with money. It's like you're always trying to be the most popular girl, or you're always trying to prove the hierarchy, or you're always trying to be like the star football player, instead of thinking about humanity and people. On what's the Korean cooking show that I like to watch? Masterclass? No, that's not it. It's on Netflix. Class Wars. On Class Wars, there's this female monk, and I love her. And she doesn't eat even garlic or onion, because anything that is aggravating to the body. Like she eats no animals. She is vegetarian. She doesn't even work with the animals. And she doesn't even eat garlic and onion as a way to be the most calm in her body. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm at, girls. I'm going there. It's not even about being vegan. It's about saying, what can I do as a person to have the most amazing experience with my lived experience for the short time I'm here? And it feels like, how can I be the least violent and least aggressive and least like, just how can I be the most calm and most peaceful? That's me. That's where I'm going. And I'm saying people are fighting tooth and nail just to have the right to kill things. We are spending more of our life energy, more of our limited time on earth fighting for a right to murder instead of our right to live better. Non-vegans will fight the hardest to kill a cow, and they won't even fight that hard for livable wages or lack of exploitation in their businesses. You know? Chad said, what is their bad conditions associated with garlic and onion? They're aggravating to the body. When I was on my nutritional journey, my nutritionist at the time told me not to eat any garlic because it causes inflammation. So like I'm fibromyalgia, and it will be better if I didn't eat onion and garlic. Do I eat them every day in every meal? I do. But I would be in less pain if I didn't eat them. So I'm not saying you don't have to eat them. I'm just saying you would be in less pain. You know? So it's something to think about, you know? Okay.
So I'll go back and I'll say it's justified, but personally for me,
Okay, now they're talking about rabbits and why you shouldn't eat rabbits because rabbits are pets. That's the non-vegans argument. And then Elle is like, there are lots of people who raise rabbits to cook and feed their families. And she goes, okay, well, it's not okay for me, but it's okay for them. Now they're going to talk about dogs.
I can't justify consuming one, but those people make their livelihood off of selling that bunny meat or rabbit meat to the people that want it. They make their livelihood, and I will side with farmers always.
Hold on. Chat said I thought it was an antihistamine. It can be, and it is for some people, but for some people it isn't. So it depends. Like some spices, like I shouldn't even be eating spicy food. So everyone's body's going to react differently. But I was told by my nutritionist that it will aggravate my body and it will hurt me more. And yet I do it anyways. Same thing with spices, like hot sauces. I eat so many hot sauces, it triggers my fibro. If I eat less hot sauce, I'd be in less pain. Yeah. Chat said, I think it's that the garlic boosts the immune system. And so if you have autoimmune, that's not a good thing. Yeah, I was also told that. Now, I don't know. This isn't my area of expertise. I'm just like telling you what I've heard, but I could be really wrong on some of this. So hopefully the professionals will leave a comment or something.
From North Carolina.
Okay, listen, now she's appealing to her family, her past, her lived experience.
Her livelihood, and I will side with farmers always. I'm from North Carolina. This is a farming state.
Will you side with dog farmers?
Here,
Yeah, the dog farmers.
What?
Yeah. Why before you had a problem with dog farming, but they sell the dog meat?
it's not. In most places, it's black market. They're doing it illegally. Don't bring up the morality. They're doing it illegally. And it's immoral because dogs do not taste good. They are not nutritious. That is not what dog meat is, and it's done for fun. It's done for game. It is not done
they do
for
it
the
for money.
health of a human being.
Talis, they do it for money. It's a festival where they sell the flesh of dogs.
That's
money.
not.
Did you see the girl on TikTok who got a lot of heat for eating dog and people were so mad at her? But honestly, it just looked like beef to me. And I don't know what to tell you. Like, they serve dog. She's allowed to eat dog. You know what I mean? You want to see it? I'll show it to you. Look away, vegans.
Come with me to try dog meat in China.
It says it's dog meat here. I want a small order. Just because I'm one person.
Hey This is my dog meat mukbang. I'm here in Guilin, China, and I got it from this restaurant. And I ordered a small portion. I was like, I don't want a big portion of dog meat, bro. Anyways, I've always wanted to try this. I'm so excited. And they made it really nice. Yeah, you guys can see. Super dark, like, it looks kind of livery.
I mean, it just looks like a normal fucking meat dish.
Let's see what the dogs are hitting on. Also, I would never eat my own dog. My heart is like... All right, this looks like beef.
It literally looks just like beef. It literally looks exactly like beef.
All right, first bite of the dog. It tastes, I don't know what dog breed this is, but it's actually really good. It tastes like lamb. Damn.
Anyways, people were pretty upset with her, but the truth is like, it just looks like regular ass meat. You know what I mean? It looks like chewy beef meat. You know, it does look chewy, but like, it just kind of looks like, yeah, like, I don't know what people thought it was going to look like, but that's what vegans are trying to say. Like, you keep thinking like, it's going to look different. It's going to look different. It's going to be different. The context will be different. It's the same for vegan. That's how vegans see cow meat. That's how vegans see everything. So if you're grossed out, if you have a response, but the response is not then to go, oh, I guess we should eat dog. Well, hold on. The argument is, why dog though? Why anything though? You know what I mean? That's really the conversation that we should be having.
they get all of their money for the year from. It's one festival. They don't have to have that festival to make an income.
Farmers don't have to, they could have a different job. Are you saying farmers, they can't farm plants?
It's passed down generations.
So-
it's passed
so-
down for generations.
so a
You want somebody
horrible-
to give up their farm because
Wait.
you don't think what they're doing is morally right. You would like a person on the streets and without a job that has been in their family forever because you don't agree with what they're doing?
Absolutely. Do you realize what you'd be justifying if you said, oh, because it's passed down, I shouldn't have a
So you
problem
put
with it?
animals above humans.
No.
You care about those animals more than you care about a human.
Oh yeah, I've had alligator, right? In New Orleans. Alligator? Yeah, crocodile. Wait, which one do we have in the States and which one do they have in Australia? Crocodile, alligator, crocodile. Yeah, I had an alligator, right? I had that in New Orleans. I tell you, if you put it in front of me, I would eat it. I really just, I'm into it. Like, yeah.
Okay, let's test it. I'll test this. Okay. So say for example, you got a dog fighter. Okay. They make money dog fighting. Okay. And it's all legal and everything. It's absolutely fine. And if I say, look, you need to stop this and find a different job. Am I valuing dogs over humans by saying that? Or am I just valuing a sentient being's rights over an oppressor?
No, and I'll tell you why. The difference is that it benefits absolutely nobody except
money.
for the people doing it. That is black market work. You cannot compare black market work
I said,
to a
no,
real
Talis, you're not
working
listening.
industry.
Talis, you're not listening to me. I said, in this scenario, it's perfectly legal. They make money from it. People have fun. It's entertainment. There's loads of benefit from it for the people. They love it.
You know what's interesting to me? People fight harder against vegans than you guys fight against child marriage. Look at Russell Brand with his full chest going on Megyn Kelly, to say, yes, at 30 years old, I had sex with a 16-year-old. Like, that's the question about, are we actually as good as we think? Like, all Elle is saying is maybe don't kill animals if you don't have to. And everyone's like, no, I have to. And it's like, okay, but do you have to? Or do you want to? And that's why philosophy is so great to me, because it really, really asks the question, do I want to or do I need to? Like, yeah, I think the truth is, like, we just want to. Much more than we need to. And also need is interesting. Example, my mom used to say to me, oh, your grandma was married at 10, Betsy, because the village needed people to make babies. And so they would marry the kids together or marry the kids to adults in hopes to bring people to the village. I'm like, but do we need more people? Oh, if we don't have more people, the village will die. Well, I think the village should die if the only other solution is to marry kids off. And people think that's crazy. And I'm saying, why are you willing to marry children off and force them into pregnancy and weddings they don't want just to keep the village alive? Like, no offense to our village, maybe it should die. But then, you know, people have also weaponized keeping people of color or indigenous people from having children as a weaponized force of colonization. So, of course, that's why they did forced sterilization to Native people or indigenous people, right? That's why you also want to make sure the government is not implementing what people should do with their bodies. Because I know someone asked me that the other day, Therese made a, in my opinion, satirical video. I read it as satirical. A video about how men should get forced vasectomies at 18. And someone's like, Brittany, do you agree with this? First of all, she was trying to make a point. So I don't think Therese believes this. But no, I do not think the government should ever come in and tell us when and who and how and what when it comes to our reproductive rights, right? So what I'm saying is, like, I emotionally understand, because listen, I dated vegans in the past. I used to eat vegan all the time. I mean, I've eaten vegan my whole life. I like vegan food, right? And yet, okay, it's interesting. In Assyrian Chaldean culture for Lent, a lot of Catholics, for us, we eat a lot of dolma, and my mom would make vegetarian dolma for Lent because, you know, Catholics are so funny. They will eat fish for Lent. That's why McDonald's has its fish sandwich for Lent. Like, the Catholics will eat fish for Lent. Okay, in my household, they eat no meat. I don't even think they eat fish at this point. Nothing, just no flesh, okay? And I'm like, yeah, but imagine you just ate like that every day. And they're like, yeah, but it's a sacrifice. And I'm like, yeah, but is it a sacrifice or is it just the right thing to do? And that's the question that you have to ask yourself. I don't believe in making sacrifices. I think a sacrifice is a story we tell ourselves because we have to do something we don't want to, that isn't actually good for us or isn't even who we are. I don't make sacrifices. I do the right thing. So my idea is to reject any patriarchal Christian myth around sacrifice and just do it because it's the right thing. I'm not plant-based because it's a sacrifice. I'm plant-based because it coincides with my values. It's the right thing to do and it's working for me. It's not a sacrifice. Okay? It's not. Right? Chat says, wait, what excuse does she have for child marriages? Like, why not wait? Well, my mom wouldn't be pro-child marriage. My mom is saying that my grandma was married, the village was, because you have to understand, in order for my mother to question her mother's marriage, she would have to question her parents' union. And then she would have to question all of her siblings' existences. And then she would have to question everything. It's not that my mom is pro-child marriage. No person, when you put a microphone to their face, is pro-child marriage. And yet, they support child marriage. Just like when you ask people, are you pro-rape? Most people would say no. And yet, Russell Brand gets on the TV shows and says, at 30, I slept with a 16-year-old. So you are pro-rape. And they'll say, no, that's not rape, though. And I say it is rape because 16-year-olds can't consent to having sex with 30-year-olds. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying nobody, when you put a microphone to their face, do you love animals? Billie Eilish's question, do you love animals? Yes. Okay, then why do you eat meat? Right? We live in a constant reality of cognitive dissonance, which I think is a part of our biological experience to help us survive. But I am arguing with more introspection and extrospection, with a deeper relationship into existence, into your biological experience, you can actually mitigate more harm. Okay? You can actually have a better relationship with existence. You can actually be a better person by being less bad, by having a deeper relationship with that. So you say, oh, it's my biological experience, Brittany. What did men say? Men would always say, oh, men on average find 12 to 16-year-olds the most attractive, right? And you're like, why would you say that, right? That was that YouTuber's whole, like there was a YouTuber who made that whole argument. And I'm like, why would you say that? That's disgusting. Well, that's just evolution. That's just nature. The 16-year-olds are the hottest. And it's like, okay, if you think that is true, then you would think that you would want to have a deeper relationship with your biological experience so that no longer was true. But they're saying it's true and we can't change it. And I'm saying it's true, let's change it. It's true we eat meat, maybe we should change it. It's true we can have babies, but maybe we should change our relationship with making babies. Do you know what I'm saying? It's true, but yet it's true that when I feel angry, I want to punch a wall. But what if I change my relationship with my biological experience and when I get angry, I no longer wanted to punch walls? What if we became different people through work and determination?
They get enjoyment.
The Hunger Games were entertainment for the people. Do you think that's... I'm not going to agree with the Hunger Games. That is the dog Hunger Games. I'm not going to agree with that. That's morally incorrect. We can go into why the Hunger Games are morally incorrect.
Okay, so just to be clear, if it were the Hunger Games, but it was E.T., and he was one of many millions, he was a moral patient, he couldn't build or create, he had thoughts, they weren't very complex, had a third leg, lost an eye, no human language, and he was delicious. And he was, nice and fatty, so he wasn't like lean or anything.
And yeah, Chad, you're right. The reason Russell Brand got up on TV and said that story is because he knows it was within the law. Which is why when this girl says, oh, dogfights are illegal, what does that have to do with moral? It was also legal for Russell Brand to have sex with that 16-year-old. What does that matter? We're talking about morals.
Would it be justified to Hunger Games those ETs?
No, because it benefits absolutely nobody. The people who make money off of it, I don't care that they make money off of it. Farming is a real job. Dogfighting is not a real job.
Oh, so my job is a real job. Your job's not a real job. What is a job? What does that even mean? Like, we're having serious conversations about people even joining the military when that was absolutely so normal when I was growing up. And it was expected that if you wanted to get out of poverty, get college paid for, have any chance at success, you would join the military. Now we're saying don't even join the military. I don't even want to see you there. Okay? We fought, right? We fought to have women and trans people and all these people serve in the military, but I better not see you there. Right? So when we have these conversations, okay, Chad said, are morals objective or subjective? They're subjective. We have no access to data that proves morals are objective, though religious people tend to make the argument that on the basis of God existing, there is objective morality. But there is no scientific data or anything empirical to show objective morality to exist.
And
The
I
hunger-
really, you're
what do
trying
you
to
mean
get me
real
on
job?
this.
What do you mean real
Farming
job?
is a real job that benefits society.
Dogfighting
brings
is a real
food.
job. Dogfighting is a real job. Like before it was black market, it was something that was just allowed. Like gladiators,
Like
people,
cockfighting.
they were real jobs, right?
And it's illegal now for a reason. Because
but
we
that's not- we're
understand.
not talking
Right. So what if we made eating meat illegal for a reason? Or this would be my hope. My hope is that we wouldn't have to even make it illegal. We would make it illegal for mass production to exist, for cows to be exploited or animals to be exploited in general. And then naturally, it would move in a direction where people just wouldn't even think to eat meat because, like, why would we do that? And by the way, there vegan places or vegetarian places exist. It's not like there aren't parts of the world that just generally eat vegetarian, right?
About whether it's legal or not. We're talking about whether it's morally
You
justified.
just were talking about the legality of it and how it used
No.
to be legal, and I was giving you an answer for that.
No, that you
Okay, you
weren't
see how she's not. You see how it's a struggle.
engaging with. I'm talking about the morality. It's just the reason I had to say it was legal was because you were bringing up legality.
Okay, so let me show you. Let me show you the next clip. Okay, next clip.
It was ethical meat farming isn't inhumane. Maybe we could go to that quickly.
Now, let me try
Yes,
to
we can go to
explain
that.
let me try to explain what Elle was just saying is veganism
So there are other vegans in the chat. You can see here on the top left corner, and they just jump in on occasion to help people.
is kind of a heuristic where we know for a fact that we're not causing a certain type of rights violation, which would be against animals. The same thing as like the precautions that are put into effect with respect to driving, such as like seat belts and traffic safety laws and red lights and roundabouts. Those are all precautions that we've put into place to help avoid humans dying in car accidents. 40,000 humans still die in car accidents every year in the United States alone, but these precautions are put into place to help mitigate that. And what Elle was saying is that being vegan is a basic precaution that we can do to avoid killing like anywhere between 150 to 300 animals per year per vegan. Does that make sense?
Yes, and also the thing is, another hypothetical of if I get into a car crash, but we'll go ahead and say this has nothing to do with ethical farming and putting ethical things onto the shelf at the market.
No, it was an
You know, you
analogy
can
to
put-
elucidate
Can I
the
finish
point.
speaking, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're just not
And-
appreciating that it was an analogy. Do you understand the point of using analogies to like elucidate points?
I understand an analogy.
She's
But
struggling
this
though.
is real life. I
Yeah.
want
Yeah, seatbelts are
people
real.
in real life.
Seatbelts are
Thank you.
real. Seatbelts are real. Car
Seatbelts are
crashes
real, and I
Yeah.
really hope that everybody wants to wear one.
Okay, so why are you saying this is real life? It's an analogy. Analogies can be in real world. Do you understand that?
Now, I just want to make sure
Andy,
that
you're
like
asking
you're
me
engaging.
personally, and
Just
I have
pause real
not.
quick.
Can I
Just pause real quick. I
please
just want to make sure
finish
you're
talking?
engaging in good faith. Can we pause real quick? Can you repeat back the point I made when I started speaking? Can you just like repeat back what I said? I just want to make sure you're
No,
engaging
because
with
I
me.
was talking and you interrupted me.
So you can't. The thing
By the way, by the end of this conversation, she does admit that she's definitely been challenged and she noticed she was getting angry. And so she noticed that she would like, try to change her mind or take into consideration or, all of that stuff. So she is just very young and frustrated right now. Oops.
I was saying about the value of analogies with respect to the car driving. Can you like repeat back my point?
It's a real thing that happens, and X amount of people die every year in car crashes. You were talking about that. That has nothing
That's
to do
not-
with farming.
That's not the point I was making. I was making an analogy to the precautionary principle of being a vegan. That's the point I was making. And then
And this is the struggle we'll have when we're all having conversations like, what is analogous? What's a good metaphor? What's a good analogy? Like, what's a good example? What's a good, that's not a good example. That doesn't make sense to me, or this does make sense to me. It's like, that's what's really hard about these conversations. Like, she's really not getting it, but I think she's like most people when we're having these conversations. I can't tell you how many times I talk to boys on these panels and they just like couldn't get it. And I was like, and that's what my job is. My job is to figure out all the different ways I can hop into different bubbles and get different people to understand. And ultimately, like, they're not going to understand until they're ready. And since we get so defensive, it really clogs our ability to hear people. that's why good faith has to be, both people have to be very good faith. Like, they have to both explore and want to hear it and think about it. That's why I try to bring good faith to this conversation, even though I'm not vegan, because I genuinely think it's such an interesting conversation from a philosophical perspective. But most people are just very bad faith when it comes to vegan conversations.
Analogy
The whole
was
boycott thing?
no. See, you're not paying attention, or you're just not understanding.
You are all interrupting me.
Well, that's the thing, Talis. Yeah, I am interrupting, but yeah, I am Talis, I am interrupting. Talis, wait, Talis.
I was mid-sentence and she turned on her mic and began to speak.
Yeah, Talis, there's a reason you're being interrupted though, because you're just like not, it is kind of clear like that you've not been listening because you don't engage with what's being said. And then when you repeat it back, it's apparent that there's loads of information that was lost. So
I'm sure all of you think that. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 vegans in here and 1 me. So
that doesn't mean they're not going to understand that you're not, like, a vegan isn't suddenly like, oh, I'm going to agree with everything Vegan Gay says because she's vegan. That's not good heuristic.
So she's feeling defensive and she's a little frustrated and she's just not understanding what they mean. And this is how most people sound to me when I talk about most of the things I talk about. When, you know, and this is the frustrating part, is like, this is why I created the levels. This is why I'm working on it as a framework. It's to explain that, like, everyone's in different bubbles. Everyone's engaging on different levels of introspection, and everyone's also fighting different levels of defensiveness. Like she's not a bad person. She just literally doesn't have the tools or the knowledge and misunderstands. And they're all being very patient with her. But I'm sure from her perspective, it feels like she's being ganged up on, or it feels like we're not understanding stuff. And so, you know what I mean? Like, when we have this conversation, that's what I want you to keep in mind, right?
Have you agreed with everything she said so far?
No.
What did you not agree with?
I think there was something earlier, like with respect to the dogs and like valuing dogs or pigs differently or something. And like I had a slight disagreement, and it doesn't mean I.
So now she wants them to prove that they're not just like all in agreement with her. Right. And so, like, that's the problem too, is like there's so many different kinds of vegans. Right. And I will say to chat, I think the struggle is like, because I know and I want to respect everyone's like perspective. And also this caller is kind of doing the same thing that the chat, I'll read your chat in a second, is doing, where like the chat says, I have indigenous family that is still very much live off the land and hunt for animals for what they need to feed the family, and everything is used and the animals are treated with a lot of respect. It can be done ethically. There are also some tribes who don't have access to groceries in Canada. So that's what this girl is doing. She's saying, we're farmers. We come from a farmland. This is our livelihood. If you take it away from us, we'll starve. When we're having philosophical conversations about rights and wrongs that exists outside of humans, you cannot talk about your family. The vegan argument exists. It's an argument that says, regardless of human beings existing, are animals like individual entities? And then since we exist, how should we respect that relationship with them? Right? So when we make a call to culture or belief or family or tradition, we're not allowing the good faith conversation to happen, because the vegan argument isn't about your culture. It doesn't care about where you come from. It doesn't care about what happened before. What it's asking you to say is, can we agree that human or non-human animals are agents of their own? And that's the issue, is like, yes or no. If we say yes, then why do we feel entitled to them? And why don't we do everything we can to migrate, move, leave those places where food is worse for us? And then we can say, well, I live in a food desert, I just can't leave. But that's like Israel saying it can't not be Israel because it's always been Israel, when we know it hasn't always been Israel. Like, everything's always been everything, but nothing's always been anything. Like, we have to be able to move and do things and change the way we do things for the betterment of all of us, or we don't. Right? So yes, we acknowledge that people struggle, and like, it's hard to ask people to get up and move out of a place they've been their whole life, and or ask things to be different than they were, or acknowledge. Like, that's what it feels like to me when people are like, oh, but like, this is how we do it. I hear that. But, right? Like, what if, because look at the way that it's going. Look at the way that things are. It's obviously not working. Something's wrong, right? And the wrongness is about whether or not we want to have a more peaceful, less violent relationship as much as possible. And we can't do that under capitalism, and we certainly can't do that under white supremacy, and we certainly can't do that under misogyny or patriarchy. But I hear you, and I think it's so valid to say my families are farmers, my families are indigenous, my families are this. When we talk about ethically slaughtering animals to a vegan, that just doesn't make sense. Like ethically having child marriage, right? Like the how do you ethically have child marriage? Like there are some Syrians now who are already pairing up their kids to be married to people. They've already decided who their kids will marry, and generally those kids will be okay. Generally, if they don't introspect and they don't think about it, they'll be fine. Is that what we want? Right? Is that what we want? Do we want to live in a world where we go basically good enough? Or can we ask the question that is hard for all of us to hear, which is, what if you could do something different? Which is hard, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. And I agree, chat says leaving is a problem simply because indigenous people have been moved into a position where they're less of an advantage than the average person. They've already been moved and had so much stripped, 100%. So that's why this vegan argument cannot be about history. That's why the vegan argument is not about world history. It is not about what is. It's about something greater. So that's why you can't have a conversation about like, well, legally this and this used to happen and this. Veganism has nothing to do with history. It has nothing to do with world history. It has nothing to do with your family. That's why I like it as a philosophical argument, because it requires you to think about the ethics separate from all of that lived history. That's my favorite form of introspection. Who would I be if none of these things mattered? That's why I say the levels represent. The levels represent an understanding that there is more to existence than just your family or lived history or just history itself or just politics or just the planet Earth. And it's like, oh, what would I want to be if nobody existed? If there was no people, like, yes, if people existed, but like, I don't want to slaughter any animals I'm willing to eat. So if I can't slaughter it myself, I don't think I should eat it. That's kind of like my thought on that, right? And also, does everyone else also have to agree to that? No, not necessarily, right? And then that forces you to have the next question. So again, I'm not making an objective argument, but I'm saying in order to understand veganism, we can't connect it to history, right? Chet says it feels like a very privileged position to take when you zoom out and in on the individual when people are struggling just to have rights. Yes. So this is why it's hard to have this conversation, right? Because we do get defensive and we start to talk about privilege and we start to talk, and I have so many TikToks to show you on that if we wanted to, but the dilemma is that is how Assyrians justified child marriage. They saw it as a privilege to be able to not have children and to let the village die out. And they said, we don't have the privilege to not have children. So we must marry children in order to produce children to work on farms. Do you know what I'm saying? That argument is every argument for every reason anyone's ever done anything bad. And I'm saying at some point, we have to either acknowledge we're bad or we have to acknowledge that if we're so good, why aren't we thinking about different ways of survival? Why are we forcing our children to get married to people, to produce offspring, to work on the land? Why are we doing that? Right? And so vegans are saying, first, we have to talk about exploitation, right? And then we can talk about everything else. So the farming girl says, farmers can't just change jobs. This is their livelihood. You can't ask my family to not be farmers. How will they eat? Right? I think I have a timestamp for that. Okay, how will they eat? And they're saying change jobs, which is a privileged position that is only privileged under capitalism and oppression. Right? And I'm saying all of us are contributing to the harm on the planet. And so it would take an individual to stop eating meat to start that tradition. But if you hold on to it as a tradition, then nobody in your village will ever stop eating meat or marrying children because it's a tradition. If you make it a tradition, then you're saying people must keep doing it. Versus how do we innovate out of this structure? And now I understand capitalism innovates to take advantage and exploit people, which is why a lot of our communities are even in this position. And I'm saying that's why it's so hard. Okay? Like, That's why it's so difficult for all of us. But this is what I'm fighting with my own family, right? Well, well, they had to do this because this. Oh, they had to do this because of this. And then they're sitting here looking at me like, you're so spoiled, Brittany. You're so spoiled. Oh, you think we didn't even have the choice. You're lucky you even have the choice. And I'm saying, yes, I wish everyone was so privileged as to not have to marry children or do things unnecessarily. Right? That's what I'm saying, you know, but I would never want us to turn this around and weaponize anything against really people who aren't in that position to get there. Like I would never tell somebody who lives in a food desert, like, oh, it's so bad for you to eat ramen every day. Girl, eat that ramen. Because food deserts are bullshit and we shouldn't be living in them. Like, it's not your fault you were born in a food desert. But then the question is, why do your parents have you in a food desert? So then you could argue that it's unethical for people who have children in food deserts to have those children. Because like now you're putting those kids in a position to have food desert lives. So that's why morals are subjective. Because we could argue all the way back to, well, why are you even having more kids? Why are you bringing kids into a position you are arguing that is so hard you have to slaughter animals or you can't be vegan? That's the next ethical quandary. That's the next ethical challenge, right? And that's why it's so difficult for us to have these conversations, because I also don't think antinatalism is the goal. I don't think antinatalism is good. I don't think telling people you're bad for having children is good. And I would still argue that most people have children so irresponsibly. And I do think most people are pretty bad parents. They're okay, but they're bad. You know what I'm saying? So again, everyone's opinion is so right because it's so our lived experience. But then the question is, isn't that what everyone thinks? Everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks that always, right? That's how billionaires raise their kids, to think like, yeah, this is just how the world works. I get paid billions. You work for me. I take your money. End of story. Right? That's the point, is everyone thinks that about everyone's bubble. And I'm saying, what is true outside of what I think is true? That's what philosophy is. What is true? Or maybe what is true is what I think is true. Right?
It doesn't mean I didn't understand what she said.
Yeah, and this, all 7 vegans, they're listening. Some of them aren't even talking to you. They're like 2 other people have spoken to you so far.
Yes, and I know I'm being judged by all of you because
so now she feels the judgment, right? That's so human. We all feel that. So now we feel the judgment. Vegans are judging me. Brittany's judging me. I'm judging me. We're all judging me. That's the other part. That's really difficult, right? We feel judged. So when I say meditate in a room and say that the other people's opinions don't matter, what would you like to do? And if your conclusion is like, I want to have sex with kids, okay, I want to slaughter an animal for fun, like, you know, I want to do this. If you alone had to make the decision, you are allowed to have that conversation with yourself. It's not a privilege to sit in a room. I mean, it is sort of a privilege, but you need to do this. You need to sit in a room and say, what do you actually want? I realized I don't want to slaughter animals. I've tried. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. And I shouldn't be forced to. In some bubbles, I would be called a pussy, a baby, a loser, like slaughter the animal. I would be even forced to slaughter the animal, right? As a bullying tech. I'm saying I don't want to have to do it and I shouldn't have to do it. I shouldn't have to slaughter the animal. And that's the problem. We're living in a world where because I say this, someone goes, oh my God, we should force her to do it, or vice versa, or whatever. I'm saying, why are we so eager to deny ourselves agency enough to say, I don't want to do this, so I shouldn't have to? Talk about consent, right? That's it. That's all the question is. It's not about judging you, right? It's not about any of that, even though we are judging people. It's about, how do I as an individual do less harm every day? How do I be less bad every day? And what will that look like? You know? Jessica, do you think we are born with our morals? Do you think we were born? I've answered this question like 5 times today. Am I not saying it correctly? You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I not saying that isn't clicking? I've already said this 1,000 times. That's what the word subjective means. That's what I say when I say I don't believe in objective morality. That's what I'm saying. Am I not saying something correctly? Can I communicate it better? We cannot be born with morals if there is no objective morality. We cannot be, we're not born with a script on our hearts. We're not born with a right or a wrong. That's what that means. That's what the words mean. So let me know if I could say it in a better way.
don't believe
I'm not-
the same
no,
things
no,
that
No,
you
I'm not
Talis,
judging any.
yeah, no,
That's
what
the
is
thing.
this? What
That's
is
the
this?
thing.
No, just
What is
just-
this?
Talis, just stop. I just need us to slow down for a second, okay? This isn't about judgment time or anything like this. I just, I've been vegan for 12 years. I just really care about other sentient beings because they're having an experience and I want that to be valued. I don't care about judging people. I don't care. I just want them to leave animals alone, okay? That's not what this
We
is
were
about.
judging farmers in the video that I found you on.
and you're gonna judge anyone ever, right? You see them,
I
you make a judgment.
wasn't judging you.
It doesn't mean
left
it's good.
a comment on your video.
Okay, so do you see how Ella's saying, like, I'm not trying to judge you. I'm trying to focus on people not exploiting animals. Yes, it comes with some level of judgment, but you see how this girl feels very judged. And I'm saying I love philosophical conversations where we can genuinely try to move away from not feeling judged, but to say, like, yeah, I can start doing that. Like anything else in life, everything is subjective. It's a construct created by us. And yes, a lot of our communities are reacting to colonization, which is absolutely valid. And yet I say, therefore, your values are dictated by colonizers. So to be clear, is this your value because it's good or because you have to live this way because of colonization? Because if it's because of colonization, it's probably bad, right? So Chad asked, hold on, Chad said, I'm probably not clicking. That's all. How do we sit with ourselves and know what's right or wrong without any input from the world? You don't eradicate the world. When I say sit alone in a room and don't think about other people's input, I'm saying don't listen to people who say being gay is bad because it makes you a pedophile. Don't listen to people who say this is right because I think it is. I'm saying pause. What do you believe with everything you know, everything you understand about existence? What do you think? What do you think? Don't listen to anybody else. What do you think? And then put that up against other people's opinions. And then take your thought and your processing and challenge it with other people's opinions. I'm saying you don't even know what you think yet because you're still wearing capri pants because you were told shorts were slutty. Like, you don't even know what you think yet because you think blondes have more fun and you haven't been a redhead once in your life because you're too scared. You don't even know what you think yet. You've never even stopped to think, why don't I not eat meat? You know what I mean? Like, we don't even know what we think until we really ask ourselves, okay, if I didn't have my mother's voice, if I didn't have society's voice, if I didn't have politics in my head, what would I think? And then understand that the first answer is wrong because the first answer is going to be your defense mechanism. The first answer is wrong. It's probably the 6th or 7th or 8th time doing this that you'll probably get sort of the answer. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying pretend the world doesn't exist. You can't exist without the world. I'm saying, what do you actually believe? Okay? Right? And then understand that the world's a reflection of us as a whole. That means as a whole, most people are believing this is the way the world should be, and that's why this is the way the world is. So when you sit there and say, "Oh, well, I have to do XYZ because of bad circumstances," exactly. What if we recognized that and admitted it with no shame? I'm doing a bad thing because of the position my people are in. I'd like to do a better thing, but I can't seem to right now. Then we can actually start having a conversation about doing the right thing. But since we hold it in, you know what I mean? Okay, chat says don't get angry. I'm not angry, right? No one's angry. This is what philosophy is. Like, philosophy is passion. Philosophy is communication. We're talking about real people's lives. You want to talk about seriousness? We're talking about actual fucking lives right now. So everyone thinks it's a privilege to even have the conversation. We're talking about real lives. We're over here casually talking about the murder of billions of animal lives. Billions. And by the way, billions of animal lives that also come at the expense of human life. So this is very serious and it's also a lot of fun, right? So again, like, we're not angry. We're passionate, right? But we're passionate because it's so serious. So the question is, when will we reach the next level, if at all? I don't think it will happen exactly. I think it happens on the individual level, moved into the collective, where we recognize, like, oh, the world is a reflection of us as a whole. It cannot be this bad without all of our participation. So what does that mean about the justification of this participation? Do you know how much good would happen to the world in, like, months' time if everyone today went plant-based? Like there is data to show us how amazing the world would transform, but we won't do it out of fear. And I'm saying that fear, doing things out of fear is keeping us trapped, right? That's the problem. That's what's so do I say I radically accept human beings will be this way forever, and then we can really do something about it. Because if I keep holding my breath for people to figure it out, then I'm going to waste my time versus, you know, seeing if we can say in different ways until it clicks, right? So see how this girl's feeling ganged up on. She feels defensive. She feels like Elle was making fun of farmers in her other video. She's like, oh, she's angry instead of hearing Elle's argumentation, right?
That was very
Talis.
educating about
Yeah, and I
farming
haven't,
and farming
Talis,
conditions.
Talis, I wasn't saying any nasty thing about them, was I?
You were.
Wait, what did I say?
You
Yeah, go on then. What did I say?
absolutely were. You
What did I say?
absolutely were.
Go on.
You were saying that it was morally wrong and incorrect to do what
Wait.
farmers have to do
Yeah,
to
See,
Talis.
farmers have to do it. They don't have a choice. That's her whole argumentation. Farmers have to exploit animals. They don't have a choice. What will they do for a living then? Yeah, that's how most people think. I think that's how all of us are trained to think too. And I also think that's how billionaires exploit you. Because billionaires tell you, you don't have a choice. You have to get this car, and you have to buy this house, and you have to get this education, and you have to get these clothes. Otherwise, what will you do? And they exploit that vulnerability in your brain that says, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. He's right. He's right. I have to get plastic surgery, and I have to go blonde, and I have to become a Christian, and I have to do these things. And that's that exploitation in our animal brain that says we have to get along with the herd or we're going to be, kicked out. And I'm saying have a deeper relationship with that biological drive, that biological reaction, and try to have a deeper relationship with it and say, actually, there are other ways we can live.
Yes.
other animals
Wait.
that they have on their
See,
farms.
you're not listening again. What did I say that was mean about them?
Go and play the video.
Yeah, no, go play it. Go on. Repeat my
Disrespectful,
words.
and you're talking shit about farmers, and I don't respect that. Farmers are putting
Yeah,
food on your table as
wait,
well.
Talis,
I
you
would
were saying-
rather you buy
no,
vegetables.
I'm not going to
locally.
take this,
They
okay?
come
Because
from the same
vegans,
place,
no,
honey.
vegans are put to this ridiculous standards because you were judging people who farm dogs.
Ducks?
You were judging people who farm dogs. You said they were morally wrong. You think it's wrong. They're just doing it. They're not even doing it for money. They're just doing it because that's
This is Elle's greatest point in this whole conversation is like, you're so afraid of being judged, but you're judging vegans because you feel judged by vegans. Vegans simply existing triggers 98% of the human population. They literally get triggered simply by people being vegan. And that is interesting, right? So they're like, I feel judged, so I'm judging you. And I'm saying, if you feel judged, we should have that conversation. Why do you feel so defensive, right? And there's probably a really good reason. But can we also acknowledge it's a good reason? And she's afraid for her family. She's afraid of homelessness. She's afraid of her family losing purpose. She's afraid of this tradition. She's afraid of her childhood changing. Like, there's a lot of really good reasons to be upset. Can we also, this is a transition thing too. As an autistic person, you know how hard it is to transition to something new. It can be very PDA triggering to be like, don't tell me what to do. But yeah, what an opportunity for us to say like, yeah, like it is hard. You know, even people in my comments be like, Brittany, don't overthink it. Just be vegan. Don't tell me what to do. I was in Elle's chat telling Elle like, hey, I've been plant-based over a year now. You're doing great work. And someone in the chat is like, just be vegan. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. I will say I'm vegan when it doesn't feel like a lie. If I said I was vegan right now, I would feel like I was lying to you and to me, to myself. I will not lie for social credit. So I will get there if I get there.
what you were like.
Yes, it benefits absolutely nobody.
No, I don't think it benefits anyone to be breeding billions of animals into existence, making food for them to feed them, abusing them, having people
Food is
get
a benefit that we have to keep people alive.
dog
We
meat
must
is food. Dog meat is food. What are you not understanding?
It's not good food. It's not
Oh my
nutritious.
god,
That's
why
the
do you
difference.
keep moving the goalpost every single
Why am I
time,
moving the
Talis?
goalpost? I just answered what you were saying. I said dog meat's not nutritious.
Oh my god. Oh. Right, listen. Ethical meat farming isn't inhumane. Do you take ethical and humane to mean the same thing?
Oh,
Ethical and humane.
Yeah, do you think they're synonymous, would you say?
No.
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 What do you think ethical means that humane doesn't? What would you say?
Ethical is created in a way in which there is only benefit
To
and
who?
little to no suffering.
Benefit to who, sorry?
Everybody, even the animals.
So it's ethical. So ethical meat is one that benefits the animal.
Yes.
Okay, so how does it
I'll
benefit
I'll
an
get
animal?
to ethical farming when you let me.
Okay, listen to this. Listen to this.
Well, that's where we're going now. So ethical farming, it's a benefit to the animal, is it? Who's being farmed?
It is
How
because
so?
otherwise sent to a slaughterhouse to sit in a cage until they get to a certain size, and then they would just be slaughtered and farmed for their meat. They spend their lives in a cramped little cage. Ethical farming does not do that. They have a good life.
No. So no, you don't want to.
no?
You don't want to compare it to like a farm or something like that. Just ethical farming generally. What does it look like to you?
Ethical farming to me is free range food,
Mhm.
which would be chickens, cattle,
Yeah, free range chicken.
and sheep or wool.
Oh no,
Um,
I'm trying to understand. So, say for example, you have like a let's make it clearer. You have like a normal farm, they farm animals. But then what's so? But then we have this ethical farm you're talking about. Like, what does that look like to you? Like, so
Ethical
say,
farm.
sorry, say let's go with a specific animal like a chicken. What would the process be?
It's free range, and
Okay,
that
free range.
chicken is getting to roam around
Right.
the
Okay.
majority of its life. It gets to enjoy a huge, nice field
Nice field, yeah.
with people that curate to that chicken's every need, and they take it to the doctor, they get them checked up on, and they really care and love those chickens.
Care and love.
And then
okay.
when the day comes, they have to be taken
Have to.
and they are turned into the meat
Mhm.
that we buy and consume.
So basically, you're gonna like give them all this well-being in this ethical system.
That is ethical farming. That is what ethical farming is.
Okay, awesome. But so ethical means to the benefit of this animal, yeah?
Ethical is to the benefit of everybody, yes.
Yeah, including the animal. So if you're an individual and you're having all this well-being and you're having a really great time and enjoying your life, how is it of benefit of you to be slaughtered?
Sorry, say it again. My dogs are barking.
This, by the way, this is what my mom always used to say about euthanasia. She'd be like, Betsy, they want to make a world where adults are given this great life, and then when they're too old, they take them out back and they shoot them. And I'm like, what? She goes, assisted suicide. That's what they want. They want to give us this great life, and then when we're 80 and they decided we're too old, they want to take us out back and kill us. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty bad. Like, if humans don't want to die, that's pretty bad. But that's the argument. But she's making it for animals. She's saying we give animals this really great life, and then we take them out back and we kill them. And I'm saying, damn, it's amazing. We take them to the doctors. We invest thousands of dollars. We feed them the greatest food just to take them out back and kill them. It is kind of funny. It's a little funny. It's a little. And by the way, like, again, it's not. Veganism is just about the exploitation of the animal. It's not even about like the planet or anything else. But let me just tell you, if you care about your own health and you care about the planet and you care about everything else, like, plant-based is definitely a way to go.
That's all right. They're barking. What, like bacon?
But I would never say it was easy. I think all transitions are hard. I mean, heck, just changing from daylight savings time, like, is such a fucking pain in the ass. So if you have an eating disorder, if you have autism, if you have selective eating, if you have all these like very nuanced, I hear you, girlies. And I also think if you are wanting to have an introspective, deeper relationship with your biological experience, more things are possible than you could ever imagine. Same way people are like, ew, watching two gay guys kiss is disgusting. I literally vomit. Okay, if you want, you can change that. When you want. You don't have to. I recommend it, but you can change that. They're like, no, I can't change it. That's just how I feel. Okay. Whatever. Like, but like, you can change things. And the question is, what can you change? You'll never know until you try. So that's the other part. People say, oh, I've already tried it. I can't change it. Only you can know if that's true. But most people are definitely not trying everything to, you know, in every possible way before they give up. Most people try one or two things and they go, it's not for me. Maybe, right? Only you can know.
Barking.
Yummy. So yeah, so say for example you have all this well-being that these chickens have. They're really enjoying their life. They're outside, free range, roaming. They get looked after. How is it of benefits to them? Because that's what you said ethical farming would have to be. How is it of benefit to them to have their life ended prematurely? If they're having a really
It's
good life?
beneficial because they got to live a good life prior.
Okay, so chat says, genuine question I'm asking, since humans are technically omnivores, then do we have to eat meat like carnivores who do have to eat meat? And even then, do those animals have to eat animals? I guess it depends, right? Like, we are finding that not all animals technically have to eat meat just because they can. But, you know, the point is that we are all animals, but we all function differently on different scales. And the idea is like, what can we do, right? And so I guess you're asking like, then do we have to eat meat like carnivores who do have to eat meat? Like, if you have 10 options and there's some options that lead to less harm, I would hope you choose those options. And there is always harm when you eat an animal because an animal had to die for you to eat that animal. You cannot eat an animal without causing harm. You also can't exist without causing harm, right? So you can make the decision to never have a baby, so you're not responsible for causing more harm, or you can even choose to kill yourself to mitigate harm. I would argue more harm will probably be caused if you kill yourself than if you stay alive and work on harm reduction. So again, there's a philosophical component to this that requires you to take all things into consideration before taking an action, which, you know, is difficult, or at least while taking an action. So again, the idea is not to say, because again, the only way to eradicate all of human destruction is to destroy all humans. But we've all decided we're not going to do that. And if we're not going to kill all the people on the planet, which I don't think we should do, then we have to accept that there will be harm humans cause. And the same way that the earth and nature and weather causes tsunamis, we're not going to like aim to eradicate planet Earth because tsunamis happen on planet Earth or because tornadoes happen or earthquakes, right? The idea is we learn to adapt and, you know, we live within reason for the time that we exist. Okay, so that's all that we're saying. Even vegans will argue within reason, vegan. Within reason. So if that's the case and we're being within reason vegan, you know, if the vegan community went off the definition that I found on the website that was like within reason, then I would be vegan. I just don't want to lie to the community. I don't want the community to misunderstand my positioning. It's not embodied for me in the sense that, you know, again, I think this is the problem with definitions and words and who's identified. Now, you know what I could do? I could become vegan and then argue with other vegans about how they're doing veganism wrong. But I don't want to do that either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that kind of girly, but there are vegans who argue with other vegans about ways to be vegan, like vegans who eat honey and vegans who don't eat honey and vegans who on occasion eat something that's not vegan. And then, you know, oh my God, like again, I don't want to do that, but somebody's doing that out there. I just want to know, how do I exist on the planet and do the least amount of harm possible within reason? And also like within my values that are subjective for this limited time on Earth. And then also, how do I have a really good time on Earth? Guys, I need it to be abundantly clear to you that I am trying to have the best experience on Earth while I'm alive. And a part of me having the absolute best experience seems to be going plant-based. So that's why I'm doing it. Do not get it twisted that I'm not trying to enjoy the absolute fuck out of existence. That also comes in the shape of being anti-capitalist, being plant-based, you know, harm reducing as best as possible. Like, this is adding to the quality of my life. My life is so much better now than it has ever been. My life is better now than when I used to eat meat, or when I used to eat dairy, or when I used to engage in capitalism, or when I used to dream about being a billionaire. My life is better now than it has ever been. So do not get it twisted that I'm not out here trying to have a great time.
That's beneficial to the animal.
So
let me get this clear. You don't support meat farming at all, do you?
Absolutely not. If they're sentient beings, then why would I?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So we release all of these chickens out into the wild.
That's not my
from
policy.
their fenced
Yeah,
in,
that's not
from
my
their
policy.
fenced in land.
See. Vegans, I mean, non-vegans always do this too. Like, oh, you just want us to like free all the cows or something? And I was like, that's not my policy. And I'm like, that's not my policy either. But that's the dilemma. That's not a good faith conversation. This caller is being bad faith, I think, in kind of innocently, but she's not getting Elle's positioning. She's assuming Elle's positioning.
It's not my
With
policy.
the dogs that wander and protect them.
Talis, that's not my policy, so I don't know why. I'm asking for people to just stop breeding them into existence to use them.
But
And obviously,
breeding them into existence.
yeah, with the purpose of using them. Yeah,
Yeah.
they existed.
So a
before we
lot of
did.
times with ethical and free range farming, they are breeded naturally and they have no insemination process. That's another big.
Yeah, but they bring
kicker
a bull in,
for
they
ethical
bring a bull in to then mate with all these animals, don't they? It's not naturally. They bring them in.
That's still natural.
Well, we intervene, don't we? I don't think out in nature we would intervene with a buffalo breeding, for example.
You wouldn't intervene. This
No, not very
is
naturally,
this is a
yeah.
little different. I don't think you're not quite letting me finish. We're going back to the chicken farm example because that's what I was talking about. You let these chickens roam free in nature like how it's meant to be. These are wild animals and they should be in the wild. Their life expectancy would go down a lot because a chicken can do absolutely nothing against a predator like a coyote or a wolf. Again, which is why we have
So then this becomes the argument, right? We're almost done. I got a couple more timestamps. We're almost done. So then the argument becomes, right, like a comparison to us versus other animals. I don't care what other people are doing. I'm going to do the right thing. Right? Like, oh, Brittany, other people are littering. Why don't you litter? Because, like, okay, we have trash cans in Croatia. Glass, plastic, paper, regular trash, so on and so forth, right? It's segregated. They're all right next to each other. They're all clearly labeled. We have people who consistently put the wrong things in the wrong bins. Are these people A, malicious assholes who don't give a fuck and say, go fuck yourselves? Genuinely confused people who just like got confused and put the wrong thing in the wrong thing? Or people who are, it doesn't matter. It's not the biggest deal. It all goes to the same place. It's the landfill, right? Which one do you think they are? I think it's probably a little bit of everything. But I always kind of assume that people are just like, they get very overwhelmed with the choice selection. They get overwhelmed about which one to choose. And they go, I'm just going to throw in the first one I see. Because it's always the first bin that has the most trash. And I think that's what happens. They go, I can't. Some people might think, oh, they're malicious. Like they're thinking about how to fuck up everyone's day. Because it does fuck up everyone's day, by the way. Okay. Or the people that jam the trash cans. And now the rest of us have to wait for the trash cans to be fixed before we can use them again. Because it says specifically, do not put big bags of trash in the trash can, little at a time. And then the people still put the biggest trash can, and then they clog it. It's like, I want to do the right thing, even if nobody else is doing it. But damn it, when you don't do the right thing, it becomes really hard to do the right thing. So as an example, this happened to us the other day. Somebody jammed the trash can and we couldn't put any trash in the trash can. So we had two options. One, follow what everyone else did and leave the trash outside by the dumpster on the floor, which could risk animals opening it up, litter happening, gust of wind coming through and blowing the trash away. It also just looked bad. Or we could take the trash back into the apartment and put it in the bathroom with a fan on and live with trash smell for a couple days. Which one do you do? We put it in the bathroom with the fan on. Or we walked through the neighborhood until we found trash cans we could put them in because we have neighborhood trash cans. We brought it up to the apartment and we kept the trash in our apartment rather than putting it on the side of the street with everybody else. Okay? Because most people are like, ew, I don't want like garbage in my own house. Okay, but you'll put it outside in the earth in which it might be littered and get all over the place. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying we're better people. I'm saying it's really hard to do the right thing because now your bathroom smells like trash. And how much is it easier just to say like, oh, out of sight, out of mind. I didn't do it. Look, I don't know why I do what I do, except to say that I sit with myself a lot. We discuss a lot as a unit. We come to our conclusions based off values. We make a lot of decisions that I'm not saying you're a bad person if you made it. I'm not saying any of those people who put trash on the outside were bad people. I'm not even saying the people who jam the trash can are bad people. I'm saying, damn, it's so hard for people to be good, huh? It's so hard for us to mitigate harm. It's so hard for us to make society run smoothly. And that's where I have a lot of compassion for people, because damn, it's really hard. And then you bring in colonization and racism and sexism and misogyny and all these other fucking systems of oppression and individual beliefs and bigotry. And you're like, Jesus Christ. But then the irony is, then we turn around and go make babies. We know all of that. We know how stressful life is and taxes are too damn high and I can't afford gas. And then you're going to go home and fuck tonight and you're going to bring a baby into the world and say like, I'm so happy you're here. Suffer along with me. Isn't that interesting? We say we love our children and then we bring them into this world. That's what I'm saying. Like, human beings are obviously animals on a planet, because otherwise, why in the world would we be this way? Like, the proof that we are animals is the proof that we cannot do better. Just at the drop of a hat, myself included. So then we must, and this is why I say, have a deeper relationship with our biological experience, because it forces you to actually attempt to really contend with your reality as a biological creature. Instead of thinking and telling yourself, I'm better, I'm better, I'm better, I'm better. Look, I'm so much better than these people. It's like, yeah, sure. But how hard is it to be better than those people? Those people are raping, killing people. I mean, the bar is kind of in hell. The bar is in hell with the men we date, and the bar is in hell with the people we think we are. Okay, one more timestamp and we're done.
Makes sense. Or I could try and
So now this guy is trying one more time to make her understand, right?
restate it. Let's say there's a Southern Baptist priest or
Everyone's gay. Everyone in this conversation is gay.
pastor or whatever, and they run a gay conversion therapy camp, and their livelihood relies on it. And they get like 100 kids a year from like really bigoted parents. They send them to gay conversion therapy camp. Would you keep supporting that gay conversion therapy camp out of fear that that priest won't have a livelihood anymore?
Priests don't take salaries to
Pause. Some Catholic priests who work for the diocese do take a salary, fun fact, and they have nice cars, and they can even have dogs and hobbies like golfing. Second, I like how he asked her that question, and the first thing she had to do was correct the reality about whether or not a priest could get a salary. This is how human beings think. This is how human beings think.
typically, and I think you're thinking of a preacher. We don't
Yeah,
have
whatever
priests.
the
I know you
Southern
said you were Catholic,
yeah.
but preachers
Catholic priests can get a salary from the diocese.
don't take salaries. They have other jobs. And to run a camp like that, I genuinely do feel there has to be some evil involved, because that's not a necessity for human beings. A conversion camp is not seen as a necessity for human beings. Farmers are.
And also, P.S. guys, if everyone who absolutely needed to eat animals ate animals, it would be like 2% of the population. I don't know how much it would be. I'm making that up. 5% of the population. Let's do it. I agree. I will compromise. 5% of the population can eat meat until they don't need to anymore. People would still not like that because they'd be jealous. Why do they get to eat meat and I can't eat meat? Oh, so I guess it's not about needs, is it? So now it's not about I need to eat meat. Now it's about I want to eat meat. That's the point. That's the point. W, thank you for the super chat.
A necessity, because like I said, they do the plant-based work and they do the meat-based work. The plant-based work is far more important, and as of like right now, I would find it quite disrespectful if somebody was to say, well, all meat farmers are evil for what they do. Again, back to the first like bit at the top that you have, if we know better, we should do better. They know better, they can't do better. That preacher can do better. His only source of income is not going to come from that, because conversion camps have to be either church ran, which means they're tax free, or government free.
Let's get out of the church and government. Let's just say it's a private establishment run by a family. They've been doing it for many years. It's not a priest or preacher, and they do take salary. And
see how like her brain, it's so like, I really don't mean to talk badly about her because I know she's so young, but her brain has to change I don't think she knows she's doing it, like changing the goalposts, but she can't handle the conversation. For whatever reason, her brain is just not letting her engage with it. So she has to be like, well, this can't happen, so it doesn't count. Or the fact that she's like, I hate the idea of people calling farmers evil. Yeah, I wouldn't call farmers evil, but I would say that farmers as a whole, my brother included, even though he's only farming for his small family, he's not farming for the neighborhood or anything, engages in an unnecessary form of violence in order to maintain their livelihood. And no, he doesn't make a living doing it, sorry, to maintain their food consumption at the standard that they wish to consume food. Because they're also like kind of crunchy conservatives, so they only use the best soil and the best organic and the best this and the best, and they don't like meat from the store. They call it like milk from the store. They call it pus milk because like it's like not filtered correctly and it's gross and these cows are abused and they hate farming. My brother also hates farming factories. He also hates it. That's why he makes his own farm, because he's like, I'm going to ethically source meat and food from animals that get the best life before they die. My brother's also in that category of people, right? And yet he does engage in an unnecessarily form of animal consumption in the sense that like his family could live off a vegetarian diet and be great. As far as we know, nobody has any weird health issues or anything that can't be counteracted by supplements or something, right?
They've been taking, like, it's just like families will send them there to get converted to not being gay or lesbian anymore. Mm-hmm. And if this place gets shut down because like you stop supporting them, is that a good argument to support them?
So I see what you're getting at here. It's a different circumstance. If you lose that, you can outright just go and get another job. Whereas farmers,
same with the animal farmers. Same with the animal farmers.
I've discussed with you the fact that they cannot change it. Farmers are typically not the type of people to go to college, and if they do, they are within the farming major. They could switch over and go to another farm, but guess what? That's not their farm. They're not going to make enough to feed their family. Those are two very different things. And you know, I don't want to be rude, but I do think it's quite immoral that you're just saying they need to switch their jobs when in a lot of cases they can't. It's like the job market.
So like as an example, if I went to a farmer's market, I would buy all the veggies from all the farmers, even the ones who slaughtered meat. Some vegans would say, I'm not going to support this farmer because they also slaughter animals on their farm. I would probably buy all the veggies from anybody. And that's how I think right now with where I'm at on my journey, right? So there's that part of it. What's another part of it? Yeah, there's like a line in the sand for different people in different ways. It's like, how do we shop at grocery stores when we know like there's a lot of unethical? Yeah, I think you have to make decisions that work within your framework, and it's also what you know. So like in her bubble, right? Let's see, Chet says, say what, I know a lot of farmers who went to college and uni. Yeah, but that's a privileged position no matter what, right? Like going to uni or college is just privilege. Most Americans are not going to college or university. So even though you might know a lot of farmers who did, there's so many other farmers who just didn't, right? Like none of the farmers I know went to college, but I don't know that many, but the ones I do know, none of them went to college, right? So she's saying in her bubble, most of them didn't go to college unless it was for farming. And that makes more sense, right? So she's worried. She's saying something out of fear. I'm worried my family might be homeless. I'm worried my people might be homeless because they don't have a backup. This is their whole life. She's saying they've done this for generations. What do you want them to do? She's giving that's her argument, guys. It's coming from a place of a fear for her loved ones. She's not doing it because she's malicious. And I'm saying, even though it's an organic and authentic perspective, it's still not a good argument for why not vegan. It's just one that says, but what about my family? And I'm saying, yeah, your family will struggle to transition into a life in which this is no longer their living, no longer their traditions, and no longer their way of life. And yes, it will feel like the worst experience you've ever had, like any industry at any time that has gone obsolete. Yeah. That's why we have to have transition periods. That's why the government should intervene. That's why we should give people housing. That's why we should make sure people have a way to get from one industry to a new industry. This is the one part about human beings we have not perfected, which is transitioning people out of what was and what could be. And also the problem is because it's so layered with bigotry and prejudice and all these other things, we also forget the way of the past that could have been really helpful to bring into the future, right? Something a little bit more holistic or something a little bit more of the earth or something a little bit more spiritual. Like we've also forgotten that a lot of that can benefit the modern world plenty. So there's a little bit of lack of balance either way. We don't want to adapt. I always see these posts about like old homes that got modernized. Some of the posts, I like the modern better. A lot of the posts though, I'm always like, I see why it's frustrating for people. And yet I do love a modern living. I do love a modern world. I just want the modern world to have the balance of keeping the things from the old that are valuable and good and have survived thousands of years of genocide and colonization and all these other things. They survive for a reason, right? Maybe there's something to that.
In the United States is absolutely terrible.
Let me just
Try
pause real
and
quick.
like say
What if
somebody
I-
has to change. What
What if the Southern Baptist person who ran the camp said, I think it's immoral that you say I have to change my job? Wouldn't that sound
Okay, and then Chet says, I struggle with buying plant-based food options that are produced by big food corporations that contribute to animal slaughter farms. I mean, this is also, I think she brings that up at one point, like, what about these big companies that contribute? Guys, just even eating tomatoes, coffee, and chocolate, you're engaging in like exploitation of human beings, right? And the rainforest. It is really hard to be a good person. It is really hard to be a good person. It's really hard to be a good person. And that's why I'm empathetic. And that's why I try my best within reason, which is why I don't make the prescription of you must do this. Because the truth is like, damn, it's really hard out here because everything we have, everything we've built is just bad. Like human beings are good, but we built a pretty bad world, But like there are so many things that are vegan that have nothing to do with buying processed vegan food. There are so many things that are vegan. Like most people are eating vegan food and don't even know it because they don't think about it as vegan. You know what I mean? So again, like you could eat vegan your whole life and never think you're a vegan because veganism isn't what you eat. Veganism has nothing to do with what you eat. But plant-based does. Plant-based is a diet. So again, if that helps people transition, you know what I mean? Like transition your thought. That's why I'm like, oh, I'm not vegan, but I'm plant-based. So I'm eating plant-based foods. And also, right? It is interesting. But be kind to yourself through the process because it's hard.
ridiculous to you?
It's immoral to run a conversion camp.
Why?
Why? Because you're changing something about people that they can't physically change. You're
And I
forcing a
think it's
change
immoral-
upon a person.
And I think it's immoral to run a farm where you cut the heads off of animals for unnecessary reasons.
Also, Elle made the point earlier. Why can't these farmers just become plant farmers or corn farmers or corn's a little complicated, but mushroom farmers, vegan farmers, right? Like you can be a farmer and a vegan.
It's necessary for that farmer to feed his family.
And it's necessary for the gay conversion camp runner to feed their family.
It's not. It's a different form of a job. Like I
Yep.
said,
They
agriculture
can get a new job.
is its own. No.
Also, listen to me. This is how my brain thinks. My brain goes, hey, what's our goal? And then I figure out how to make that goal happen. I don't think about anything else. So if people go, oh, but Brittany, like it's hard to go vegan because of this, or it's hard to go because of this, none of that matters to me. That is not how my brain works. My autistic brain doesn't care about any of how hard it is. I go, what is the goal? And then I figure out every possible pathway to that goal. I do not care about what doesn't work. Thank you. What does work? Okay? So that's why I say to people who like Chet says, but it's climate specific. Can a farmer just switch to crops like that? I don't care. I don't know. That's not the point. That's not how my brain works. My brain, that's why I say sit in a room and say to yourself, what do you actually think is right and wrong? What do you think is moral and unethical? Or what do you think is bad and good? What do you think life should look like? And then you go for that goal. You build a custom life. What do I want? And then you have to ask yourself, why do you want it? But I don't care. I don't care about anything else around it. Because if I paid attention to everything else about why I can't do anything, I'm not doing anything. Okay? I can't do anything. So the point is I go, okay, Brittany, I want to grow mushrooms. How do I grow mushrooms? I might have to move. I might have to migrate. I might have to move to I might have to get a new house. I might have to sell my house. Okay, then you do that. Now, you don't have to do that. You can say, okay, I've decided that's too hard. I'm going to do something else. Okay. But that's how my brain works. What do I have to do to get my goal? Within my values and not at the expense of others to the best of my ability, within reason.
No,
What's the
honey,
argument for
I'm
that?
so sorry. You're not grasping onto what I am saying. It is detrimental to these farmers. Okay?
What's the
They
argument that
have
they can't
to
change their
make
job?
money. If you got rid of all of the meat farms, there would no longer be a market for farms at all. That's what would happen. There would be a collapse of
argument for
everything
that?
to do with agriculture.
Wait. Let me write that down. Let me write that down. I just have to try.
See, exactly. So, like, why did you say that? Where did you get that information from? Why would you think that? If people still have to eat, as chat rightfully pointed out, then why would it be the collapse of everything? And that's the fear. That's why fear is the root of all evil. Because philosophically speaking, if you only move out of fear, your conclusions and solutions will be made within that fear construct. And I'm saying don't do it because you're afraid. Do it because it's the right thing. And that brings us to the end of our vegan conversation. So when Billie Eilish said, let's go back to the beginning, let's reset, okay?
What's one hill you die on? Y'all not gonna like me for this one. Eating meat is inherently wrong. And then the other thing is, two things cannot coincide. I love animals. I love all animals so much, and I eat meat. You can't do both. Sorry. You can eat meat. Go for it. You can love animals, but you can't do both.
I think you can love your kids and abuse them. I just think it's a different kind of love than the love I'm talking about. I think you can love your girlfriend and beat her, but we're not talking about the same kind of love. I think you can love animals and eat them. We're not talking about the same kind of love. I think there are so many different kinds of love that exist. And what happens is we all think we're saying the same thing when we say love. And I'm saying the kind of love I express to you when I say I love Indiana Jones, my cat, means the same kind of love that you might relate to, like a small child that needs care, or somebody that you respect and go out of your way for, someone you put before you. And it's not a sacrifice. It's the right thing to do. Like, I love her so much that I would run into a burning building to save her. There are people who don't try to save animals when there's a natural disaster because they think, I am the kind of person that appreciates when people run into those buildings to get the animals out, that go to save the animals from floods, that attempt to open gates and get the animals out. There are so many people that believe different things about different humans, right? There are people who think certain humans don't deserve to be saved, right? This is why prisoners died in Katrina. It's why people who are disabled get neglected. It's why when there is a tragedy that hits, people neglect the most vulnerable because they figure, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm saying I would rather live in a world that attempted to do a little less bad every day and attempted to look at the most vulnerable populations and did not think of all the ways we could exploit them, but rather all the ways we could live in a world where they get to enjoy life as much as the rest of us. Because I'm trying to have a good time while I'm here, and I hope you are too. And I hope that that doesn't have to come at the expense of other people. You know? So I see what Billy's saying. I can see why it upsets people as well. I think two things can be true at once. I also think we live in a cognitive dissonance. And I also think she's right. And I also think, like, the problem is, like, human beings aren't ready to acknowledge and accept that we are a reflection of the world as a whole. Guys, the world can't be this way unless we were all participating. So if you think the world sucks and you think life is unfair and you think there's no meaning to the universe, congratulations. It's like looking in a mirror. But it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's why I always say have a deeper relationship with your biological experience. It doesn't have to be this way. It just is this way. But it doesn't have to be. But it can't be different until we're different. All of us, you know? Also, apparently she has been vegan since, like, she was 18. She's been vegan a long time. So she looks like she might be in it. That's the thing. I want it to be so deeply embodied in me if I ever say I'm vegan that there's no chance of me making a 10 years vegan but no longer vegan video. You know? Which is why maybe the pressure of the label is too much. Maybe the social pressure of the label is too much for me, but I am plant-based. I do it for ethical reasons and harm reduction, and it's served me well these last almost year and a half. It's been really great, honestly.